501. And if we could do roll call, please.
Mr. Maurer?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Mayor Breeden?
Here.
3 present, 2 absent. We have a quorum.
So Wallace walked in, we walked in.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Oh, Ron, did you want to pull something on the agenda?
We're going to talk, yeah.
Oh,
I want to.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to remove item 13 from the agenda. Hobson car officially pulled out of the land deal.
bless you.
Thank you. Do we need to announce what's going on with that in open session?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so that item is a motion to approve with that item pulled.
Second.
All in
vote.
favor?
Please vote.
Oh, we have to vote.
Please vote.
You just pull Broadband.
Okay. All right, so
3
then we
ayes, motion
will...
carries, 2 absent.
Public comment on closed session, since I...
It's a meeting of the big
Okay. Okay, but it was...
small business.
Yeah, okay, they were asking for comment. Okay, all right. Sorry, everybody. Are we on? I'm on. Okay, we are going to come back in closed session and I would like someone, Stan, would you lead us? I knew your name because I could see your hair. I don't have my faraway glasses. So,
That's a real compliment because she can't see mine.
I can't see that far away without my faraway glasses. So if you'll lead us in the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please remain standing.
Shall we pray? Father, we thank you for this great place we live in. We thank you that we can remain humble in the decisions and the purpose that you would guide us in. Bless this community. Bless those that serve you. Bless the first responders. And then, Father, thank you for our hearts that reach out to the people and the care of this community that will continue to grow under your grace. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Okay, the next item we have is the city attorney's report.
Madam Mayor,
He's going to turn you on.
Madam Mayor, there are 5 items listed on the agenda for closed session. Council met with legal counsel and we discussed 4 of them. One item, anticipated litigation, is being saved for after the council meeting. On the 4 items that were discussed, direction was given, no final action was taken.
Okay, thank you. Just for the record, if any of you were here for item number 13 only, that item has been canceled. Okay, the next item is the life-saving. Chief, are they here?
They're not, ma'am. They had a family emergency that he had to go to. But
Okay.
I'll do it anyway, and I'll get it to him later.
Okay, then if you want to go ahead and read that, sir.
For these 2 officers, this would be their second life-saving awards that they've received. So on April 27th of this year, Officer Gomez and Officer Garibay were dispatched to a unresponsive female. When they arrived, they were unable to locate a pulse, so they immediately deployed their AED and started CPR. And they continued that until Liberty arrived, and at which time Liberty located a pulse and transported the victim to the hospital. So for that, these officers are to be commended for their actions in saving one of our citizens' lives. So thank you.
Please extend all of our thanks and the community's thanks. And
I will.
We will If you see these officers in the community, tell them thank you, went above and beyond. So thank you.
I will.
Okay, the next item is the Down Street project update, and Mr. Culp?
Yes, Honorable Mayor, City Council. I have some rather good news for you. Just last Thursday, the Public Works Director, myself, and Karen Harker went to our District 9, and we were informed at District 9 that the west side of Downs has now been included within the FTIP. That was brand new news to us. So we do have federal funding that will be available when the FTIP is approved. So now we do have federal funding for both sides, for the east side of Downs as well as the west side of Downs. So I'm very happy to make that announcement. I can tell you that we are currently at a point where we are going to acquire some easements for the pole relocations on the west side of Downs, as well as acquire additional easements and some right-of-way on the east side of Downs. We found some very good news with our District 9 that they are very willing to accommodate us in expediting the project for the east side of Downs. They're willing to allow us to perform what's called a Category 2 right-of-way certification, which allows us to then secure the funding and be able to obtain an E76 for the east side of Downs. That's very good news. Usually the item that has the longest term in any of these projects is usually the environmental compliance. We do have environmental compliance, and at this point we're on the track to get our Category 2 right-of-way certification and submit our RFA, which is our request for authorization for construction funds. So we're very happy to be able to announce that. Now, what that means to us in terms of timing is that we'll be able to secure our federal funding. We'll have full obligation of those funds to us for our construction. That'll allow us the opportunity to acquire the necessary easements and right-of-way. And once that has been accomplished, we'll be able to go out to bid and begin construction. And the timing of which, it still has some variability in timing, and that we are reliant upon others at this point. And number one, for the acquisition of those easements, which are minor in nature. But once we have those acquired, that really does dictate the timing for when we would be able to go out to bid. But we are on that doorstep. That's where we're at currently. Now, the west side of Downs, we're also on a doorstep. In speaking to District 9 and their environmental specialist, and this is very important, he is willing to accept the environmental document that we did for the east side of Downs by us simply providing what's known as an APE map. They call it an APE map, and it's called the Area of Probable Effect, identifying the area of construction, and there's also a form that's known as a PES. And that PES document, as well as that APE document, that drawing, will complete our environmental process for the west side of Downs, which greatly reduces our time frame and would allow us to expedite an E76 for construction. As you know, the entire project has been designed. If we were using city funds, if we had the ability to utilize city funds and fund the entire project, we could go to bid tomorrow. With using federal funds, however, there's a very lengthy process in getting those monies or requirements for using federal funds. So with this expedited E76 for construction for the west side of Downs, that's going to permit us to move very quickly to construction. And again, it's completely designed. The amount of design effort for the west side would simply be editing the existing design as a separate contract, a separate construction drawings showing the work to be done strictly on the west side, of course matching that which we're doing on the east side. So and with this already being designed and already having the environmental approval, we're in a very good position for an expedited E76 for construction. Now, what that means in terms of timing would be that, and again, we are relying upon some acquisition of easements on the west side. And depending on the timing for being able to acquire those, we would immediately be able to have Southern California Edison relocate their poles, and we would be able to, right off the heels of that, be able to go out to bid or concurrently go out to bid and be under construction after the poles have been relocated. And in terms of timing, there's a very real possibility that could be the spring of next year. So things are starting to come together here very quickly. Now, the next thing we're going to be asking you for, there's still some process we have to go through. The next thing we're going to be asking you for is a contract amendment with Willdan. Number one, for the east side of Downs, we have to have this acquisition service. We have to have an appraiser that will appraise those easements, determine a fair market value, and make an offer to those individuals with properties that we need to have easements from. And these are relatively minor. So once that's accomplished, we'll be able to have a clear path to our E76 or allowing us to go to bid. So I will be asking you for a contract amendment with Willdan as Spectrum Land Services as their subconsultant to perform this land acquisition process. There will be some monies that will be for offerings to those easements. So we will be asking you to look at what the landowner has agreed upon for the cost of those easements, and we will be coming to you for that as well. And the same will be true for the west side. We'll be asking you for an amendment to their contract for the acquisition services to Willdan's services. There will be some design element there, modifying the existing design such that a contractor can build that west side. And then also the cost for acquiring those easements for the Southern California Edison poles. But that concludes my report to you. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to.
Yeah, I do. I get very frustrated at the slowness of things moving. We voted on these projects about a year ago, and I'm just curious why we didn't start doing these easement acquisitions a long time ago instead of now.
Well, quite honestly, at the time, we felt very strongly that we had a very good case on the requirements for the relocation of the poles. We felt that it was very strongly that it was Southern California Edison's responsibility for relocating the poles as well as acquiring the easements. And thus, we did, in protest, pay for the design relocation of the poles as well as the cost for relocating those poles under protest. We would be doing the same protest of acquiring these easements. So now with the funding requirements that the federal government has for their projects, we have to go through that formal process. We know that it's now our responsibility, and therefore we're going through the formal process of acquiring these easements for both sides of the roadway.
So are the easements on the east side affected by Edison also?
Yes, sir, they are.
Okay, I thought it was just the west side.
You know, they have some poles that require guy poles as well as guy wires.
They got one on the north end of that east side.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the easements on the east side are minor relative to Southern California Edison, but yet necessary.
So you say the west side we can probably go to bid next spring. When do you think we can go to bid estimated time on the east side again?
Well, it's dependent upon our ability to acquire those those easements, which are minor in nature. I hate to give you false hope because I don't know what the disposition of those owners. I would expect the disposition of the owners would be quite accommodating since we're improving the roadway for their property, and these are in which they would benefit by these improvements. So I would expect that they would be amenable to our request for those easements. But again, it's a time process which I would not want to give you false hope. I can give you in general what I feel might be a range of time in which we might be underway. And I feel very optimistic that we would be able to be under construction by late fall, early winter.
Okay. It's just my number one priority when I got on the council 3.5 years ago was get Downs project done. My term ends in November, early December. Kind of like to have something going on it before I get off the council.
I would very much like to accommodate you, sir. I can't tell you that I also have the same desire as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Colt, in reference to the good news, the potential of a project being done, there is a group of people or company that is doing some construction nearby that road. Will they need to be notified that this project can potentially go into full effect soon? Have they completed all the work that they needed to do is basically what I'm asking.
Yes. Are you speaking of the church on the corner of Ridgecrest?
Correct, sir.
Yes. Yeah, and that's something we're going to benefit greatly by their going forward and installing the curbs and gutters and sidewalks. Now we have something in which we can pave up to, against to. And so they're going to benefit as well as we are going to benefit greatly too. Those improvements will be complete at that corner.
Perfect.
Yes, they will be notified, yes.
Okay.
Any other council comments?
Did you say the dollar amount that the federal government was going to kick in? I didn't hear. Did you?
I'm not prepared to give you budgetary figures tonight. I can be happy to bring those back to you.
Okay.
I just was wanting to give you an overall report on status, but budget, I wasn't really prepared to give you a true accounting on budget, but I'd be happy to provide you with that.
Okay, that'd be good.
One of my questions was, so at the end of this time, we will have had the street, all the center marking items we have in there. What are those things called?
Medians and are you speaking?
Yeah, the barricades. That's what I want to see.
Yes.
That'll be all gone. We will have curbs and gutters. We will have the poles moved, and the streets will be done and begun, and then finally done sometime in next year.
Yes.
Time
Now,
frame.
let me tell you right now where we're at as far as design.
Okay.
And what we have proposed for those finished improvements. On some of the undeveloped lots, we have a bid alternate to install the curbs, gutters, and sidewalks for those unimproved lots. The plan for the base bid, however, is for asphalt paving and asphalt berm with compacted earth materials as the walkway. And the reason for that is as the area develops, they would be responsible for their own curbs, gutters, and sidewalks along their frontage. And we don't know what their driveways might be located. So rather than installing curbs, gutters, and sidewalks at this time, we felt it prudent to not knowing where curbs or driveways might be located or other improvements that they might have along their frontage, we felt it would be best to add the paving all the way up to where the lip of their gutter would be and install an 8-inch asphalt berm and a compacted sidewalk, so to speak, behind that in the interim. But we do have a bid alternate there where you as council would be able to decide if you want to include that bid alternate to install the curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. That option will be available to you.
Does that meet the qualifications? Because part of my understanding of why there's not crosswalks for the school, was that because they needed curbs, gutter, and sidewalk?
Yes, that is correct. And the curbs, gutters, and sidewalks will be in place between the apartment complex and the school. There will be permanent curbs, gutters, and sidewalks for the school, in which, by the way, the school is preparing to start their construction and will be installing their improvements. And, of course, the improvements are in place at the apartment complex. And the requirements for a crosswalk is that you must have completed improvements on either side of the roadway for that crosswalk.
Okay, just at that location.
Yes,
It's
at
just
that
the vacant
location.
lots that aren't going to.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the
And-
vacant lots that we would propose on our base bid, just to have a 8-inch
My
asphalt.
feeling is if we're going to pay them for a right-of-way, then when they develop, they should put in their own curb, gutter, and sidewalk. Because all the right-of-ways we need are on the vacant lots, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Then would that apply also to the historical site where the Mathers business is at then?
No, the Mathers site, I believe in front of their structure, we do have curbs and gutters. We do have to have some construction easements for the Mather Brothers.
Okay.
There's because it is improved, or it's not a vacant parcel. It is improved. The improvements are going in there.
Okay, is there any other council?
Mr. Culp, with the receipt of the federal funding, will we be able to free up any TAB funding?
That's what I was wondering.
I don't believe I could. I think I'd have to give that some more consideration before I could answer your question on that.
Okay, I'd appreciate that.
I just wanted to give you a presentation on status, on design, and where we are with other agencies, and the good news of the west side being included into the FTIP. As far as budget, I would need a little more time to give you some accurate reporting on where we're at.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you, sir. Stan, I guess you wanted to say something, sir?
Yes, Stan Rotora, if I could get some clarification on one thing. At one point in time, there was talk, in fact, I think it's in the Measure L report, that we were going to use up to $800,000 of Measure L funding. Does this new thing you're talking about, this new news, does that mean that we no longer have to use the $800,000 of Measure L funding?
No, I do know that. I do know that our original application did include those Measure L fundings as our local match. So yes, we will still need to use Measure L funding.
Okay, so we're still going to use the roughly $800,000 of Measure L funding.
To give you an exact figure, I couldn't
Well,
do
right.
that at this setting, but
Okay.
there is our match, and it was going to come from
Okay.
Measure L. We did have matching fund requirements on
Okay.
both sides of the
That's all I need.
roadway,
Thank you.
by the way.
Mr. Bruin?
Good evening, Council. Eric Bruin, 208 Barbara Avenue. Shut up, Siri. I'm here to actually not as anything else other than as the Ridgecrest Charter School. I want to thank you. This is great news. I came with different prepared statements, so this is the kind of thing we want to hear. But we have a kind of a prepared thing for the Council that we just want to make sure you're aware of. I am currently serving as the chairman of the board of the Ridgecrest Charter School. I wanted to bring to your attention that the first phase of our construction started on Monday. This is the first phase of a multi-million-dollar construction over the next 24 months that will include, as Mr. Culp said, the curb and gutters and concrete in our phase one, as well as a new traffic lane that will go around the back of the apartment and pull the parent lane off of Downs as a traffic and congestion issue. This will also further, obviously, improve the safety of our students as well as the future students of our school. The reason why I brought this to your attention is this is a major investment by the Ridgecrest Charter School into the future of our community and into our children. We'll be adding 8 new classrooms in the Phase 2 project, as well as a gymnasium. And like anything else, we're doing this for safety, and we're doing this for our kids. And so this is why I wanted to bring a couple things to your attention, which is why we installed cameras on the campus this year. was for the safety of our children. Why we installed door monitors and door locks, and why every classroom that we put on the campus forward will have a door lock mechanism for campus takeover or for campus safety. Why we are going to be doing this traffic lane, and why we're also moving the pickup space from the front of the school to the back of the school, so that parents and kids are not massing in the front of the school across what currently is a dangerous street, aka Downs. And that is what we actually wanted to come and make sure that we said, which is we've done all these things to protect the safety and soundness of our school and the children that attend, and we are imploring you to do the same with Downs. Whatever needs to be done, get done. I'm thrilled to hear that maybe by the time we get to the end of this project, we can have the crosswalk that we need. We intend to add up to 100 students over the next 2 years with the additional classrooms. Anybody who's been on there already knows that it's not a safe situation. Anything we can do to improve it is good for the school and good for the community. And then finally, I wanted to encourage anybody who's interested in coming by and seeing the construction we're doing and what our plans are for the future. This is the largest expansion the school has ever taken. We've served this community now for 14 years, starting with 80 students up to the 530 we intend to have enrolled at the beginning of our fall semester. And would certainly thank your guys' efforts to continue to protect and ensure their safety.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I take it by that announcement you finally got an easement in the back.
We have the easement in the back. It's cleared. They're tearing up ground.
Okay.
There's a great big old pretty fence, and money's already being torn up. So we're very excited to see it finally come together after several years. So we're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to propose that everything from this point forward be good news like this. Thank you.
God hope so.
Dave Matthews. It's frog time again, frog season. Mr. Culp, I think what I'm hearing is that Southern California Edison's was actually in their on their property all along. Is that correct?
The judge that's reviewed the case seems to think so. Staff doesn't, however.
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering what happened.
They have a floating easement.
What?
They have a floating easement.
Oh.
And the judge rules that 9 feet out of the easement is inside the floating easement.
No, you
we
had
need new
to been
judges
there
too,
to appreciate
right?
that.
Yeah. Anyway, time-wise, if I hang on for another year, we might break ground before I depart.
I promise you, sir, and that is my utmost desire, is to see Down Street completed here in a very timely manner. I think we are on that doorstep.
Good news.
Now.
Thank you.
So keep hanging on, Dave. Thank you.
You've got to finish before 2 departures, so get with it.
You finished before what?
2 departures. You have a different one, you said.
Okay, no other? We thank you, sir, very much. Okay, the next item is public comment. This item is reserved for members of the public to address the council relative to matters on, I'm sorry, read the wrong one. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction who do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not take action on items that do not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. Public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. Okay, public comment, please.
Hi, Council, Madam Mayor. Last meeting I announced that we are going to be doing a fundraiser over
Please identify.
I was actually going to finish that sentence and say my name is Scott Miller, and I live in the city of Ridgecrest. My address is on file at the city of Ridgecrest. Speaking of my address is on file, so is my phone number, so is my email address. I feel that all of City Council has my email address and my phone numbers. I've emailed you at least once or twice, some of you more than that. I found it odd this week I received a phone call from Jason Patton from the Parks Department asking about the fundraiser for Penny Pool. I was asked what we're doing with the money from the fundraiser, where will it go? Standard questions what a vendor would ask. What was odd to me was, why was the Parks Department calling me? It was a private fundraiser, private citizens on state land. I've been a promoter, a vendor coordinator, a vendor for 10 years. I've never received a phone call like this ever. Please don't get me wrong. I like the parks manager. Mr. Batten does a great job. So I chose not to put the parks manager in an awkward position and decided to call some friends of mine. I called 2 mayors and 5 city council members and 2 congressmen who were personal friends of mine around the country and asked them the same question. And they all asked the same question to me. They said, Scott, is your fundraiser on city or parks land? Nope. All of my friends said, it's very odd. Council, again, I find myself wondering why I got this call. I'm a private citizen working with a private group with other private citizens to fix an issue that happened in the city. Last year, when Penny Pool closed, it troubled many people. Of the people that troubled was Ellie Jackson, the Timbushty tribe. Recently, I was talking with Mike from the Ridgecrest Shoutouts about Penny Pool. He wanted to do a fundraiser to help on a trip recently. I spoke to Ellie, and she said the tribe wanted to do something to help out the Ridgecrest citizens. As you know, the city can't or won't accept any help from the tribe. She asked if the tribe could, in fact, be one of the sponsors for Penny Pool fundraising, along with other local businesses. I talked to Mike and a few others upon the event, and we said, how about we do what they did last year and the year before? It was Food Around the World, which was a fundraiser, and food was donated, there was donations for the food. I really like the idea. It'd be an amazing event for Sergeant Penny Pool fundraiser. I'd like to acknowledge the Penny family being here this evening, and I want to tell you that I'll do everything in my power to preserve his name and raise as much money possible for this fundraiser. To be crystal clear, this is one part of the process of Penny Pool. We're here the fundraiser we're doing is for the labor costs of Penny Pool. Other local businesses are stepping up to do the work in the pool. We're working with a local 501c3 group to ensure accountability so people feel better about large donations. Right now, I'm not able to announce who the 501c3 is, as it is a process. Again, I wonder why I got this call. Why did Mike get a call from the city attorney? Why did the fairgrounds get a call? It's on state land. Did I miss a meeting where cities were tasked with calling private citizens and state property about events? Does the city often call about fundraisers? Fundraisers with like football and teams, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts? Do they call about bingo games happening in churches? Again, to be clear, this is not about myself. It's not about Mike. It's not about the city. It's not about the tribe. It's not about the sponsors. It's about the community pool reopening in my town. It's the great city of Ridgecrest, where the current temperature is 105 degrees. The cooling stations are open. However, our pool is not. I look forward to seeing all of you on July 21st for the gathering. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council members. Stephen Birdwell, 224 Oasis Drive. This past weekend, I was rattled by rumors I heard being spread about myself and Ridgecrest Shoutouts. I have to say my heart sank when I heard this. However, I realized my passion for making Ridgecrest better than it currently is has been reinforced. So I come before you to make one point and one point only. I am not here to appease you. I am here for the people, for the majority of the people out here in the seats before you. One of our beloved landmarks here in town has been shut down for over a year now. July 18th, 2017, it was shut down. Reading through the minutes of June 17th of that year, I noticed several citizens come to you guys about this problem. Reading this, I decided to step up, along with several of the other citizens here in Ridgecrest. Well, we're supposed to be a military town. That pool was dedicated to a Ridgecrest hero, Sergeant John Penny. Like I said, like Scott Miller said, the family is here before you. Just like all fundraisers and local events, baseball, football, car shows, hey, even your Petroglyph Festival, it has sponsors. But do those sponsors have any say in anything? No. They're there to give graciously, just like my sponsors. Yes, one of my sponsors is the Tabisha Shoshone tribe. Okay, great. So I have plenty of sponsors, plenty of local businesses. But we've received words of rumors being spread. That really hurt me here, especially since I'm trying to help Ridgecrest. And as far as the city of Ridgecrest is seen, this council hasn't taken any steps on renovating Penny Pool. Splash pad, sure. Penny Pool, no. So they stepped up. I have a meeting I have to go to at 7. If there's any more questions that you guys would like to ask, ridgecrestshoutouts@gmail.com. I'm available 24/7. You all know me as Mike Birdwell on Facebook. Please, contact me.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Fuller. This is not my first time at the mic, so most of you know me. Maybe some of you know me as a real pain, but I try to get the job done. I'm here again about the senior center, but I would like to make an announcement in that I was appointed to the California State Legislature as an advocate for seniors for Eastern Kern County this past Monday. And I'm very, very passionate. I myself am a senior. I hope to stay around a long time and aggravate you guys. And if I'm not doing a good job, let me know. I'll see what I can do. But Mr. Maurer, thank you for telling the gentleman you would like that job done before you leave office, because I would like the senior center done before I die. That's not funny.
I know, it's just...
I'm beyond irate. I can't believe I have been spent the last week digging through archives at the senior center. Those of you that have been in town any length of time know Gwen Jensen. I have all of Gwen Jensen's records the whole time she was at the senior center. I am going to see this done. I just got notice the other day that there was a paperwork floating around. I have a copy of it I can give you guys. In 2013, it was a big deal. The senior center was going to get this, and somebody was going to stand on their head and spit wooden nickels, and God was going to make it rain on all of us, and we were going to grow roses. Well, I haven't seen it yet. And then the paperwork got redacted, and all of the amounts of money got whited out. About a month ago, Mr. Strand and Mr. Patton came to the Ridgecrest Senior Center and made an announcement, you know, what their intent was. I spoke with the gentleman here at the table. He was going to come and tell the seniors what they were doing, what was it going to cost, when was it going to start. And then within a month, I read in the paper that the grant was given to someone else. Good Lord. I've only been here since 1959, so I have no clue what I'm talking about. You know. And then I see where they applied for another grant. And then somebody says, I have friends at the senior center, and I hope I don't embarrass them, Bill and Audrey Campbell. And I know they're watching, but they too are passionate advocates for the senior center. And you know, guys, I don't understand. My husband is 92 years old, and when he was in that parking lot the other day, he barely could walk across the parking lot because of all, and this is not just about the parking lot, because I know that's going to happen. It's supposed to be happening in September. But I've gone around to all the city buildings. I am taking pictures. I have 500 pictures of City Hall, City Police Department, City Parks and Recs. I'm going to be writing to Mick Leeson, and I am going to get a petition, and I will see this done. As God is my witness, taking pictures of watering at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the heat of the day. Right now, as I drove in here, there's water standing in the parking lot at the back. It's 6 o'clock at night. Why is there water standing? You know, we have all these water issues, all of these issues. If I was your parent, I would take your TV away. But I'm not your parent, and you don't need to be disciplined. Just do your job. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, can I respond to your issues, or do you want to, Mr. Martin?
I would like to say one thing,
sir,
if I may. Number one, I don't know you personally. I would like to, but you seem to have a wonderful spirit. I see why you've been appointed on.
And I'm a volunteer, sweetie. I don't get paid to do this.
And you've been appointed to the assembly, and I would appoint you in a second. So I thank you for. I'm just going great. I would like to get to know you. I'm serious.
We'll see if in a year you say the same thing. Okay.
I don't even know about all that. And so maybe Ron's
if you want
going.
something
If you know the other
in the Senate, come and talk to me.
No, but okay. I thank you. So, but B, I want you to know. We've been on, over a year. We're two of us at least. As the election cycles go, we have spoken very positively. I think all the council has. Every time this has come up, there's been everybody up here, to my knowledge, supports what you want to do and has voted for that. Now, if it's an issue of timing, I've learned since I've been in office that everything takes 11 times. I don't care what it is. Good morning takes a month. So it's just the nature of government and the nature of the way it works. But for whatever it's worth, Ron will answer the business about the timing. But I want you to know, at least I think, I absolutely support the senior center. I think we all do. So A, thank you, and B, know that we're on your side. Okay, please believe that. Now you take it from here.
Both projects are still on track. What was in the paper was a refunding of the money for the parking lot. It was moved from the parking lot because we were using other funding for that, and we repurposed it for some handicap walkways. So it's still on track. We just got the information contract back from the county here a couple of weeks ago. So as we progress through the process, it'll go out to bid, and this project will be completed. We did approve additional funding to do additional work at the senior center.
Mm-hmm.
That was approved, and that is part of the project. Like I said, when I spoke to you guys, I do understand where you guys are coming from. I share your frustration. It is just the type funding that we are using for this project and the process we have to take. It's more of the government bureaucracy that we have to work our way through. So it's still on track. And we do have a plan in place where we hope we never put ourselves in this position again to where that facility becomes in disrepair, and we have the funding to be able to keep it to where it needs to be.
Okay. Well, like I said, God bless you. Thank you
Yeah,
all.
nothing's changed. I understand your frustration.
Yeah. Well, and it's not easy for you to listen to me come up here and say or anybody to do this,
I'm
and I
okay
know
with
you
that.
guys work hard at your jobs, but I'm just not seeing any action. Talk is cheap. It takes money to buy whiskey.
There we go.
Linda, you and I have
I
worked
agree.
together on IWV Senior Services forever.
Amen. God bless you.
And I know that we're all supporting of this, but it is not a quick and easy process. And that's where we are. It's going to be done. It will be done. And we're working as fast as we can.
Good. I'll help
Thank
you.
Okay.
I'll be right out there hoorahing you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next item. Yeah, I know. Next person, thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and Congress. My name is Amanda Blackburn, and this is my son, Riker Blackburn. I'm here for support of Penny Pool. I grew up with Penny Pool. I've been here for 27 years, and since Penny Pool has closed, I have seen a lot of young children start off at the age of I guess teenagers, maybe 13, 14, they're all getting wrapped up in drugs. And a lot of kids would go to Penny Pool. That's where they would go to stay out of trouble. And now we took that away because there was issues with Penny Pool. Well, why not fix the issues and keep our kids off of drugs? Come on, guys, help us out. And it's 107 degrees outside, sometimes 102. That's where kids go to cool off. This is the desert, for crying out loud. We don't have money to go rent a hotel to go swimming. Some of us can't even put a pool in our backyard. I live at 813 East Commercial. I have no room to put a pool. So do I have to run my water every day? Do I have to put a cool water in my bathtub so my kids could cool down? No. We need Penny Pool back. Everyone's going to Trona. Have you noticed? If you guys follow Facebook, people are going to Trona. It's $1 there to go swimming. We're losing money from Ridgecrest to Trona because our pool is shut down. I don't want my son to grow up around the wrong people. Yeah, he's only 6 months old, but he's got a long ways to go. I want Penny Pool back because last summer I was like really pregnant. It was really hot. And I really wanted to go cool off, but I couldn't because Penny Pool was, well, guess what? Shut down because there was some minor issues. Well, have you guys gone and looked at the other restaurants that have cracked floors, cracked everywhere? Are you going to go shut down bakeries, other stores, little pops and mom shops because of issues? Well, let's work as a team in Ridgecrest. Let's pull our support. Let's do Ridgecrest shout-outs and get Ridgecrest back to what it used to be. This used to be a family town, and now it's falling apart. So let's all work together, okay? Please? I'd appreciate it. And I will even donate money. Like, depending, no matter how much we need to do it, I will, every paycheck, because I want Penny Pool back. Because people can die with this heat. And it's not because we want Penny Pool for fun. No, it's to cool off. I'm pretty sure officers like to go swimming. You guys like to go swimming, right? To cool off, yeah? Well, why not let Ridgecrest cool off too? Why do we have to drive 30 minutes to not Penny Pool, but the high school Trona school to go swimming? No, that's not right. We need Ridgecrest back to the way it was. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Next one.
Hello, I'm Diana Penny Smith. I'm the oldest sister. This is Pamela Penny. This is Kathleen Penny Segovia. We're here to talk about the pool that was named for our brother. And, well, I'd like to say that my children, my grandchildren have all taken swimming lessons there. I've spent many hours there. I was there year before last with my twin granddaughters. I didn't see anything wrong with the pool, but I know pools need yearly fixing up, but that's just something that a city should want to do for the children. We don't want to see children out climbing over people's fences and going in their pools, which is what some of them do. And anyway, my sister Pam and my sister Kathy, I think both want to say something too.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Pamela Penny. Excuse the sunglasses and the shakeability. I had cataract surgery yesterday, and my sister and I rushed back today just to come to the meeting. Our family came here in 1953. Our father got a teaching offer in Randsburg from Arizona, and he missed Randsburg turnoff, ended up at the front gate. And the security guard there said, "Oh, well, you're a teacher? You have a family? We need you on the base. We need you in the area schools." So he got him a pass, and the rest is history. Dad got the job and worked in the China Lake School District for 27 years. He was also the one instrumental in getting the schools unified, and went to Washington on a regular basis to get the funding for the school district. And he wrote the 874 law that's on the books, the little card that you all bring home, the kids bring home to fill out. That was law written by my father. We were very community-minded, always were. Then we had our sister Kathy. We had family of 5 children, with our father being a teacher and our mother staying at home. Well, the second child in the family was named John Scott Penny. So when we came here, there was not really a pool that was that available to us, unless our dad made advancements, because we lived on the base. You had to be a certain rank or GS or something to be able to qualify for the pools. All that was available was the indoor pool, and that was busy most of the time. So my brother was very community-minded, and he loved children. Grew up working with children's group and was very active in the All Faith Chapel, as our family was. And when he got to high school, he made sure to get his lifeguard eligibility so that he could lifeguard in the pools. And by then our dad had advanced to becoming assistant superintendent of the school district. And we had moved and we were eligible to go to the officers club pool. And my brother would come back from college every summer to run the China Lake pools. And so basically then, when I was a teenager, he was managing all the pools and he was lifeguarding at the O Club. And he always walked around twirling his whistle and had at least a dozen kids following along behind him twirling whistles. He was like the Pied Piper. He loved children. His whole life was built around doing things for children and arranging parties and gatherings. And he saw me as a teenager having my Ridgecrest friends would manage to get on the base, but they couldn't get to any of the pools. And they'd come and stand and look over the fence, and we'd have to go talk to them over the fence. And my brother would say, "Who are these kids, Pam?" And I would say, "These are my Ridgecrest friends. They don't have a pool, and they won't let them in." And he said, "There's no pool at all in Ridgecrest?" And I said, "No, John, there isn't." And he said, "Oh my gosh, we need to do something about that." I'm sorry, I'm going to finish my story.
That's okay.
So basically, he started going to city council meetings. And he would get up and beg the city council to start a pool fund. He said, "I'll do fundraisers, I'll do anything you ask me to, and I will get that money if we can just start a fund." He said, "I'll go all over town, leave cans, but we need to get those poor kids in Ridgecrest a pool. It's a shame that in a town this size, only the upper class of the children on the base, etc., have a pool, and we live in the Mojave Desert." Now, it would also be a place for the kids to go and get off the streets, and we could have parties for them, youth parties, and he had big dreams and big ideas. So he started going to city council meetings. This was in the 60s. And then later on in the 60s, the Vietnam War started. And John was a full-time dad, husband, full-time student, and worked full-time. And he went to Cal State Northridge at that time. And he would come back in the summers and manage the pools and spent the rest of his spare time looking for a pool in Ridgecrest or a pool site and going to city council meetings, once again, begging for funds. And
we don't want to show disrespect,
yes,
but we do want to ask if you can
I'm getting there.
kind of come to the process.
So
the end.
What he did was had the city council help him find Brewer's Pool. He then addressed the fact that it was unusable and spent that whole summer getting it running himself, getting help, getting collected, and spent the night in his sleeping bag by the pool motor, keeping it running, because it wouldn't stay running all night, and continued to go and ask for pools. He was then drafted into the military. He had a 4-year-old son. And decided that instead of a deferment, he should go and once again take care of the children that were being drafted and sent over after 8 weeks and dying. So he went to Vietnam, and unfortunately we lost him saving one of those young men. What he had requested in the event of his death was that there be a pool fund started so that the children of Ridgecrest could cool off in the summer and have a pool. So basically, at that point in time, my mother asked when he passed if people would please contribute to a pool fund versus sending flowers. And John was a very well-known, very popular young man. People contributed over $55,000 That is how you got Penny Pool. Contributions in my brother's name gave you that pool. That is his legacy. And his legacy was left for the children of Ridgecrest. It's so important for the children to be able to cool off and have a place to go and gather instead of being on the streets. Do one of you want to say something? So we are so, every year, it seems like this has come up every year for several years because of the cost of fixing the pool. But everyone that knows, anyone that has a pool has upkeep. And I know that the swim lessons generate money, the swim team generates money, and I don't know of anyone in town that doesn't want to see this pool reopen for the children. Now, a water park, all those things sound wonderful, but they're going to cost money. There's kids in Ridgecrest that can't afford to go to anything like that. They scrape and save just to go pay their $1 to get in the pool or whatever it is. You know, a big, nice facility is not going to serve those people, and those are the ones John wanted served. He left his legacy for the children and the people of Ridgecrest, and it's such a shame not to continue that. And it's such a simple thing, and I know there are people that would support it. And we know of people that are willing to donate all their time and services and get this done for the city. All you have to do is give the go-ahead so we can get this rolling and get our kids cooled off and give them a place to gather and to continue to honor my brother's legacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm just going to say one short thing. I'm Kathy Penny Segovia, and we just want to make sure that this fundraiser can happen. It's really important. A lot of people in my class are helping Chuck Cordell. They're helping to make this happen, but we still need some funds. So this fundraiser is going to help us make this happen. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all. Okay, next.
Stan Rotora. For about the last 10 years, maybe more, the city has been working with the Navy to develop a joint wastewater treatment plant. Things were apparently not going real good, so a little over a year ago, this council established an ad hoc committee to expedite the process and get this thing off a top dead center. I have been at this podium probably 1 to 2 dozen times in the last 2 or 3 years trying to get information regarding what we're doing, where we're going, what is the status, and time after time what I get is one excuse after the other. Now, the public has seen their sewer fees increase from $120 a year to $360 a year. At the end of FY18, we are projecting to have $24 million in cash in the wastewater fund. So the public is doing its part. The public is actually doing more than its part, as far as I'm concerned. On the other hand, what has the city council done? Well, the city council has taken tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees out of the wastewater fund for Lord knows what purpose. In addition to that, the council has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the wastewater fund on various staff salaries. Don't know what they're being spent on. We see no progress at all. Now, making a phone call once a week, twice a week, that's not getting us anywhere. We really need to see. The public deserves to see what's going on. What progress are we making? Are we making any progress at all? I guess is a real question. This has gone on far, far too long. I think you deserve, or the public deserves, to have some information from you. What are we doing? When is this ridiculous stuff going to end? We've got to find an end point. It can't keep going on. Any questions?
I recognize and agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Dave Matthews. I have one question. We're going kind of long here on the public comment. The item was on the agenda, but it's not now. In poll number 13, I would like to know what's going on. I wasn't here at the beginning of the closed session. I don't know if that's when you pulled it or what.
The item was pulled off the agenda, and the person making the request has pulled out of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I promise it's 15 seconds. Scott Miller, City of Ridgecrest, my address is on file. The Lions Club of Ridgecrest is our 501c3 that will be handling the monies for the project. I didn't hear you. The Lions Club. Rawr. Lions Club will be handling going to be the 501c for the Ridgecrest Shoutouts fundraiser for Penny Pool. That was just announced about 20 seconds ago at Lions Club. Thank you.
Okay. Let me ask one question, if I may, Scott. When I first met with your group and a number of other people with the Lions Club about 2 months ago, the item we talked about was to the fireworks.
Yes, ma'am.
Since then, the fireworks has gone aside because that was what I supported and donated money to the Lions Club for. We are not going to do that right now. It's going to be for Penny Pool. Is that correct?
I'm going to say yes, and I will explain a little bit. Fireworks in Ridgecrest by Lions Club in 2018 is not going to happen. There was not enough time. There wasn't enough people to launch the fireworks, and everybody was already booked. Your donation is actually going to be applied towards 2019. As Lions Club and Ridgecrest Shoutouts will be working on that project. I just didn't really want to announce that
for
yet.
the fireworks.
Yes, ma'am. 2019 fireworks will be done again 2019, and after the Penny Pool fundraiser, we'll be working on July 2019 fireworks fundraiser. So your donation for the fireworks.
I don't care about the donation so much as that we recognize that event has not gone by the wayside.
It has not. Absolutely not. The planning, Mike and I have been planning on that, have been in the planning stages of that, and we started doing the planning on the Penny Pool, and that became a high priority for us, being that we couldn't do anything for 4th of July this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? Okay. We will now then go to council announcements. Mike?
Yeah, at the last city council meeting, I handed out announcements for the ribbon cutting for the Highway 14. I was there. I think I was the only one from the city of Ridgecrest there. When I got there, I was kind of surprised that the west side, the southbound lanes had not been striped yet. As they were doing just before the ribbon cutting, they announced the striping was going on, and we had to vacate fairly quickly because the striper was coming down on top of us. Anyway, it was open Thursday, so that section of the highway is open for public use. They were still working on the northbound lanes. The double yellow line was still there, but I think that's probably gone by now. The next phase, there's 2 more phases of that project that will take it 4-lane all the way down to Red Rock Canyon. The next phase takes it about halfway down. The bad news is it's going to take a few years. The good news is that the environmental work was all done on all 3 phases, so environmentally won't hold us up. If you go down after you get through the 4 lanes and go back to the 2 lanes, you'll notice sections on the east side of the road have a bunch of dirt. That was excess dirt off of phase 1, which was needed on phase 2. So rather than haul it away, they haul it down to phase 2. So hopefully the next couple of years, phase 2 will be a project, and then after that, phase 3 will go. So I just thought I'd give you an update on what's going on Highway 14. Eventually, within the next 4 or 5 years, we should have 4-lane highway from Inyukern on 14 all the way down to Mojave.
Thank you. Eddie? Lois? Did you have any?
No.
Okay. Lindsay? I wanted to make sure we remembered that the moving wall is going to be here on the 28th, and there'll be an opportunity for us to see the that event here at the Kerr-McGee Center. And also on the 30th at 6 p.m., the International Days is going to be held at the Homestead Restaurant. That is a item that we've had here at the Kerr-McGee. It's a fundraiser for that, and it will be on the 30th at 6 o'clock. Okay. All right. The next item is the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine by city staff and will be approved in one motion if no member of the council or the public wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, that item will be removed from the consent calendar and will be considered separately with public comment before action is taken. I'm going to read the three items on there and then ask if members of the council or the public wish to have this item pulled. The proposed action to approve draft minutes of the City Council, City Successor Redevelopment Agency, Financing Authority, Housing Authority, regular meeting dated June 6. It's item number 3. Number 4, proposed action to approve draft minutes of the City Council, Successor Redevelopment Agency, Financing Authority, Housing Authority, special workshop dated May 30th. And number 5, proposed action to approve a resolution, an addendum to the City of Ridgecrest current drug and alcohol policy approved by City Council Resolution 1617 on March 2nd. Anybody wish to have any of those items pulled from the council? Anybody wish to have any of those items pulled from the city, from public? Okay, then a motion.
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Please vote. 5 ayes, motion carries.
Okay, the next item, discussion and other items. Okay, the number 6, proposed action to approve a resolution to approve fiscal year 18-19 rate adjustment for the solid waste management services. Who has that item? Heather, please.
Good evening, Council, Madam Mayor. The item for you is a resolution to approve the fiscal year 18 to 19 rate adjustment request for solid waste services. The waste management agreement provides for an annual adjustment to the rates after each rate year to accommodate changes in the contractor's cost. Waste Management has submitted a request for an adjustment. The rate request was reviewed by our consultants, HF&H, and found to be in accordance with the contract. Staff recommends the City Council passes the resolution to approve the rate increase.
Questions? Comments? None? Public comment?
Dave Matthews, it'd be nice to know what the adjustments are. We don't have them down here.
Would you like to discuss that, please?
You want me to read it? What's wrong? Oh, there's slides.
Gary's going like this.
We don't have the remote over here. Is the remote down there?
There it is.
There you go.
So the rate adjustment request is for 4.82%. On the slide, you'll see some sample rate what the current rate is and what that increase would be.
Is there questions from council? Could you explain the 4.82 total adjustment, please? Because there's a 0.42 and then a 4.40 and then a total adjustment of 4.82. And it says the fiscal impact is none. I didn't understand that comment. So if you could please address that.
So the rate adjustment on the staff report, it says the 0.42% is the pre-approved adjustment for changes in the minimum wage and health care laws. And then the second adjustment is 4.40, and that was calculated the 2018 to 19 adjustment for residential cart services. According to our consultant, the major contributing factor to the rate increase is the new gas tax on diesel fuel, and the additional factors are the health care and minimum wage impacts.
Mayor, if I may?
Please.
The fiscal impact is only as it relates to the city budget. That's what that section is for. And so this increase does not affect our city budget in any way. That's why it says none.
I was surprised at that. That's why I didn't understand the word fiscal impact none. Okay. Questions from council? None? Questions from the public?
I move approval as requested.
Second.
Please vote. Five ayes, motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. The next item, appointment of new members to serve on Citizens Oversight Committee to Measure V and or Quad State Local Government Authority and the BLM Public Lands Roundtable. We put in motion, we put items out on our agenda to the public. There was 2 people that applied both for the BLM Quad State. We didn't have any other applicants. The first one was for Judith A. Rogo, and she asked to serve on the BLM quad. And I asked, a question was sent out to all of us. Did anyone want to call? And so I volunteered to talk to her. She mentioned that she was a lay member of the public. She was physically disabled. The BLM, she notes, why are you interested in this position? The BLM does a wonderful service. If I can be of help, I'd be happy to do so. Are you here tonight? Okay. What do you consider to be your major qualifications? She said rational thinking, good with a computer, and background in writing and PR. She also noted that she could not meet on Friday evenings and Saturday mornings once a month. I asked her what her concerns were. She responded to me saying that she was concerned with problems of people dumping in the desert, and she wasn't sure that the BLM had made it very clear what they can do for us. And she wanted to help with that. The second applicant was Sharon Giroux, and she said, I would like to bring a knowledge of governmental regulations, specific issues concerning our valley. She said she has a broad knowledge of the BLM mission and valley resources. She said there was no time that she could not meet. And she said on both of them there was a notice that address must be within the city limits to serve on any committee. And both Judith was not in the city limits and Sharon Giroux was not in the city limits. I did ask what her concerns were, and she said she wanted to be able to talk about the use of BLM property by the community. She was concerned that many people did not know what the use of the BLM property was, and she wanted to be able to have a fuller understanding of what the property was available. Sharon, are you here today? Okay. I wanted to know what you all wanted to do with these two items, these two applicants.
Madam Mayor, are we allowed to still accept someone that does not live in the city limits?
That was my question, because neither one of them did, and all of them wanted to serve. And
Madam Mayor,
please.
at the last council meeting, you guys, the council, discussed with city manager about accepting people outside of the city limits for these committees because nobody on the council and nobody within city limits had stepped up. So that was the way the advertisement went out, was you did not need to live in the city limits. So
Okay.
it was my understanding that that was the direction that was given.
And both of these are applying for just the BLM?
The
Yes.
BLM.
Okay.
Public Land Roundtable.
I know for the Measure LV committee, I had asked my person, I'm waiting to hear back if they are interested, so.
I'm sorry, what did you?
For the Measure LV item, I've asked one person for me, because I think that was what was decided at the last meeting. I'm waiting to hear back from my person, so.
We didn't have anybody who made the application. This is the one right now. What we're talking about is the BLM.
Right, I was just saying as a side note, this item includes 4 appointments.
Yeah. Madam Mayor, I think it'd be appropriate to consider those outside the city limits for Quad State as well as BLM public lands. Both of these committees are not in our ordinance. They are not guided by the requirement to be a citizen within the community, to be on the committee. So I think it'd be appropriate. And both of them are broad enough to deal both with broader issues outside of the city that include the valley as a whole.
And then my question to you is, did you have a preference of one of the two of those?
Both of them I thought were very good. When I spoke to them, Ms. Giroux remarked that she was concerned about the people who live outside and live near BLM property, and wanted to make sure that there was use of the public lands and where we go with that. She has a long history of working for various committees, both in the legislature, and she is a small business owner. She remarked about her broad knowledge of our valley and the BLM mission and valley resources. She did not have a time where she could not meet, whereas Judith had a couple of times she could not meet. So I thought going to the BLM with someone who had no problem with whatever time they needed to meet was probably best. So that was Ms. Giroux. Did anybody have any comments or questions? Okay, well then.
Did you want a nomination or what?
Pardon me?
I said, did you want a nomination?
Yes.
I'd nominate Ms. Giroux.
Was that the first one or the second one you read?
Okay.
Was that the first
That was
name
the second
or
one.
second name you read?
That was the second name.
Sharon Giroux. She's a local,
Sharon Giroux.
local businesswoman.
So you knew her as well?
I know her.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know the other lady.
Okay.
I don't know either one, so I would have to go on your recommendation based on your telephone
Yeah.
call.
Okay.
Does this require a motion? No, it's just, okay.
Okay. All right. Well, so we have a motion and a second.
No, she said we don't need to.
We don't need to vote on it,
Just
so we
Just an
will
appointment.
go with that. Thank you. Well, then we will make a proposition that, or make a recommendation that Ms. Giroux serve on as our representative on the BLM Public Lands. We still don't have anybody for Measure V and for Quad State.
Right, and that's where I was saying I had asked someone for one of the Measure V spots because we had talked about that it was, I think Wallace and I were supposed to each come up with a person potentially, and so
Right.
I've asked someone and waiting to hear back from them for that. I didn't know, would the other lady, would you want to ask her if she would be interested in Quad State?
They were not interested on these. Neither one of those. They were both interested in the BLM. We could ask Judith if she would be interested in Quad State.
That's what I was wondering. Since she
Okay, I will follow up with that.
Councilwoman Stevens, did you need a time frame to work within for your potential nominee for Measure V, ma'am?
Because we have 2 openings on Measure V.
Would you like to have a time limit? Were you looking at a time limit?
I mean, I would think by next meeting, because our next meeting is a month from now.
July 18th, so I'll just put it on the agenda for you and Mr. Martin to make your appointments.
I'll have a name.
That's where I was going.
Okay.
So there's 2 for
One,
L&B
you
and
get-
1 for Quad State.
Mr. Martin,
No.
can you use your mic, please? Can't hear you.
For me?
Yeah.
There's 2 for L&B and 1 for Quad State?
Yes.
3 people.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well then the next item is discussion and private direction to the city's representative, the Board of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. I need to make a statement here, if I may. When I asked for the meeting to be held out in Inyokern, my direction to the Groundwater Authority was we must have it out in Inyokern. It seemed to me the appropriate thing to do, since most of the people that were going to be affected by that would be living in the Inyokern area. I didn't want them to have to come back into town after working all day, going home, and then coming back. But it was a fiasco, but yet I thought it was wonderful because it showed us how many people wanted to be involved in that. There was probably 125, 150 people out there. It was difficult, so when I use the word fiasco, I use it appropriately, I think, because it did not meet the needs of the people that were there, but I really wanted them to have an opportunity to speak. So it was a huge success in that respect because many people showed up, many people wanted to speak. It was warm, it was crowded. There was a gentleman who sat across from me screaming and yelling, LADWP is taking our water, no, 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 no. And it was very difficult for staff to be able to talk to the people. So we canceled that meeting and said we would announce on the 21st when we would have our next meeting, which would be here in Ridgecrest, and not try to meet in Inyokern. Staff has since come back with some other ideas, and because of the actions of the Indian Wells Valley Water District, instead of keeping the amount at $35 an acre foot to those people involved, it was going to be the proposal to the GSA tomorrow will be $25 an acre foot, plus significant reductions in cost, because one of the items that it was going to do was a $1.5 million shortfall. Now it's down to $930, and that is because of changes from the direction from staff. So that is where we are now. If you want to know further details, I'd be happy to share them with you. But basically, it is a reduction in the process and how we would be able to do it. Ron, would you address some of those changes, please?
Yes, I believe what's going to be proposed tomorrow to the Groundwater Authority will be the first reading of an ordinance which will establish a pumping fee that will go into effect, I believe, in September. That we then begin to collect funds. We'd also recommend that of the well registration for all of the well owners, including the de minimis. And I think the rationale behind that is because since we are going to be establishing a pumping fee, it'd only be fair if you have the large agricultural water users, just to ensure that those folks that are having to pay a significant amount of money are paying their share, not subsidizing other wells that may qualify for the pumping fee. But for the most part, the de minimis users would be 4 residences on one well using 2 acre-feet or less a year. And so those folks would not have to pay any fee at this point in time, but they would have to register their well. Now, that final decision obviously is going to be made by the Groundwater Authority tomorrow in whether or not they decide to go in that direction.
So,
Go ahead.
Quick question. So my understanding is that everyone was told at the meeting that it was going to be rescheduled, and now it's sounding like you're not planning on having one before passing the fee and mandating the registration.
We are going to have one before the second reading. The issue here is that the longer we wait to begin this process, because the ordinance takes 2 readings, the longer we wait, the farther out it goes. The farther out to go, the higher the fee goes.
Well, there's also an item before the first reading, so there's a public meeting.
Correct. Yeah. So there's some stuff that we have to do, and if we hold it off and wait for another public meeting, then
Lloyd,
we're just
can you say your
delaying it
part
even further.
again? Sorry, in the mic, I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry. There is a public meeting as an agenda item before the first reading of the ordinance.
A requirement in the. Is that a requirement that they have to have a public meeting before the first reading?
We've already had that meeting.
But
Right.
it was
Okay, there
it
you go.
wasn't really a meeting. I mean, they showed up and everyone was screaming and you had to cancel it.
We've
so-
already had the meeting. I believe it was May 6th or May 30th was one of the meetings that we had with the public here in council chambers. The meeting that we had out in Inyakern was an attempt to reach those folks that we believed had no idea what was going on with this whatsoever. And it turned out there were a significant number of people that were unaware. And then when we had the meeting out there, obviously we weren't able to address a lot of their concerns because, 10, 15 people.
Well, you weren't really able to communicate anything to most of the people. So
For the
you're
most
still
part.
going to go ahead and proceed with passing it, doing the first reading.
The first reading, yes. Yeah.
Before anybody has received
We're not going to
information.
pass anything. It's the first reading.
It's just the first reading, yes. But you have to understand is we've been working on the pumping fee since January. And if we don't get this thing moving, we are not going to be able to pay our consultant that's building the plan. The plan has to be done by January of 2020. And then we are running against a strict timeline that must be done.
It just seems.
There will be, though, still another meeting, a public meeting of everybody who is involved.
But it sounds like even though you're having a public, it's not really a public, it's a public meeting. We're telling you what we're doing, not really asking for your thoughts.
That's exactly what we're asking, for their thoughts. We wanted to share with them because it was different from the first reading. And I'm not speaking into this. And the idea is to get the public comment.
But if you're already having the first reading and already decided what you're doing, it sounds like the public meeting is just.
Well, they're going to make the decision. The Groundwater Authority will make the decision tomorrow which way to go. And yes, we may have an additional informational meeting that may occur after the first reading, but you have to understand the Groundwater Authority has been in effect for almost a year and a half. This is nothing new to the community. This is just a new group of folks that are being affected that we wanted to make sure we got out at least informed of what was going on, because otherwise there's a significant amount of misinformation that gets out there. I mean, if we hold off on it, we're going to push this thing back, and then we're going to have a further issue of the fees going to even go higher.
But up till now, no one has sent a postcard or anything to any of these people to notify them of this being established. So the first notification that they get is come to this meeting and hear about how you're going to have to register your well, have a meter installed, and start paying us money. And I could understand why a lot of people showed up in an uproar because...
There is no requirement this time for them to install a meter.
Okay.
Here's the deal. I was at the meeting out there, and it was a fiasco. So thank you, Madam Mayor, for presenting it precisely as it was.
However,
when I know it's okay, but you explained. Earlier on, I have not been extremely active in many of the meetings because we have our mayor is representing, and we have a lot of good folks, the Meads and others who are attending, and the Deckers, and we have a lot of outstanding people on this big time. So I have not weighed in that much. Earlier on, though, I attended several of the meetings when we were forming the PAC and TAC. But one of the things that I was very concerned about at those meetings is because at each one of those meetings, I got the distinct feeling, sensation by body language and aura of the room and aura of everyone running the meeting that things were set before the meeting began. Everyone in the rooms had those feelings. It wasn't just me, you know. I wasn't going to the meetings in an adversarial. I went to the meeting, but within 5 minutes of the meeting, it was the vibes were like, whoa, this was done and set, and it's a public meeting to hear people, but all the people in the front had made the decision. That's just what I got. I mean, I had 3 or 4 meetings like that. And when I went out to the meeting the other day at Inyakern, I got there 5 minutes ahead of time. When I got there, first, people were all headed. It was amazing. It was like an Elvis concert. That's before some of your time. But there were people coming. I said, good Lord. And then I said, well, no, they're coming because this is a very, very, very hot topic. You're talking about well owners, and you say, well, it's just this little group at the end that we've been doing this for a year, and by gosh, you know, everybody's been on notice. No, the well people have not been for the full year. You may be just getting into them and having their meetings, but no, that's not true. So, oh, by the way, the well folks are the most emotional and passionate because they bought their properties specifically to have a well and to be away from the city. And that's why they did that. And they paid their full rights. And at the time, all escrow arrangements on contracts stated that they have the right from infinity down, the water rights, the mineral rights, and everything. That's been like that since I was a child. When you bought a piece of property, that's what you bought. So now we're talking about a program that's going to just strip them of those rights. You're going to meter what they've already have to pay the electricity. They have to pay the maintenance. Many of the folks have to pay to share the well. I mean, it's different from folks in the city. It's different from folks in the city. For Louisiana, everybody's and my dad's neck of the wood was on a well. So you're talking about a whole different animal when you're talking about well owners, and when you're talking about, the people in the city on regular city water are very concerned also. But don't just put them like that little group at the end, because they're not. And when all these people were headed to this meeting, and they were coming out madder than all hell. I mean mad. I mean cussing mad. 5 different people I saw cussing mad. And I said, what the heck is this? So before I even went in the building, my brain said, well, here we go again, another wonderful public meeting. And I got there 5 minutes before, and everybody's madder than hell. Coming out of there, people packed. There's pictures in 2 of the newspapers. No place to sit. Old people can't sit. Disabled can't sit. You have the event in Inyakern to help the old and disabled, but there ain't no place to sit. And yes, it was hotter than hell. And the microphone didn't work again. I couldn't even get in. And when I walked in, 2 of the people said, there's a councilman in here. Get out of the way. And I said, well, you don't need to do that for me. I don't need that. I went in and heard people screaming. It was hot. The microphone didn't work, and I left too. Now, to me, that ain't a meeting. It doesn't count. 0 zip. It's a check off the box. City manager doesn't count. Now, everybody at that thing was promised another full meeting before you, again, have a board and sit people up and just tell them exactly what's going to happen to them. You're going to have a meeting, you're going to have a rate increase. I don't care what you said. That's what's coming. That's what's coming. If not in that meeting, the one after that. That's what's coming.
Well,
so, and if you don't have another meeting, I'm just telling you, you're going to have holy hell to pay with a whole lot of people, because I was outside. I didn't go in your meeting because I couldn't get in your meeting. So you better have another meeting, and you better send out notices to every well owner and make sure everyone, they were screaming that one person knew 10 people, 9 of them didn't get the postcard or whatever, 9 of them did. I had 10 people say that, Ron. So whatever y'all didn't work.
Well, that is a clear reason why, when you look at the well registration, we may not know or have the addresses for everybody that exists out there. You have to understand is that we are also concerned that if a pumping fee is passed, that you have the citizens in Ridgecrest are paying water for the water district. That pumping fee is going to be passed on to us. You have the big ag that's going to be paying. It's fair for everybody to make sure that everybody that's affected by this under the law pays their fair share. And having the wells register is one way we can know, who has what, how many wells or how many houses are on every well. And then when we have the opportunity to notify people, we will have their information to be able to get it directly to them. Because obviously the papers, the meetings, and everything haven't worked. Yes, we sent out the notices. It worked. It didn't get to everybody. It got on Facebook. We found a way of getting out to them. This is going to be a long process. We're going to be establishing a plan by January of 2020. This is not the first or the last time we're going to be needing to send out information or deal with the public.
I understand that, but let me tell you, everybody considers the cement set. As soon as you start popping out numbers and suggested fees, the cement is kind of starting to set. And I've said that again and again and again. So if you're going to start setting cement, you better have a meeting before anything starts setting in cement and you start announcing any kind of numbers. That's what I'm saying. So if there's not another, based on the input I had from the other meeting, and also at the meeting last night, if you don't have another meeting, you're literally going to have public health to pay, and I'm absolutely adamantly opposed to it. And I don't really care about your consultant or what I don't care about his schedule, Mr. City Manager. I don't care about his schedule because you can't back people into a corner. So you have another meeting, and it better not be at 10 o'clock either. Not during the workday. I don't care. It has to be in the evening, and you have it in a place with air conditioning, chairs, and I'm putting Jed in charge of the sound system because he's the only one that can get it done. I want sound, air conditioning, and a nice meeting that's not confrontational and that lets all these people speak and talk.
Well, let me say this, that you can talk about what the authority can or cannot do, but the idea that everybody is entitled to all the water under their ground.
I didn't say that.
Let me finish this.
I didn't say
Please, I didn't interrupt you.
Okay.
Okay, I said you. I don't mean you. I mean everybody. Everyone is entitled to all the water they want under the ground for any reasonable beneficial use. Sigma changed that. Sigma says now we will work together. We will make solutions based on not what everybody is entitled to, because you are entitled to the idea that we must work together by 2020 or the state will come in and say, water in, water out, you're not sustainable, and this is the way it is. So to tell everybody we don't have any idea of what we're going to do is not fair to everybody we're going to ask. What we're going to ask is that this is the idea of what staff has come up with. We want you to look at it. The reasonable beneficial use is not totally where we are now. What it is Sigma says you must be able to achieve sustainability. With 10,000 acre feet of being recharged, 28,000 acre feet being used, we are not sustainable. We have asked the state to look at us and say, we want more than that. We have 2 million acre feet in storage. It is at depth. It is at high brackish water. We have to be able to find a solution. So to bring this to everybody and say, this is what staff thinks, and it's going to come to the GSA on Thursday, then we will have a public meeting after that to talk about, what do you think? This is what it is. If you go to them and say, we have any idea what we're going to do, that's not fair to them. What we have is, this is what staff thinks. The board is seeking board approval for the first reading, not written in cement, not written in stone. And so we can have a public meeting after that when everybody, and we promised we would do it at night. We promised, I'm not even going to try to do it in Inyokern. We're going to do it here. And so everybody will have an opportunity to speak, be heard, and discussed. To say this is the way it's going to be is not fair until we have that opportunity. And we will. I don't want anger. I don't want fear. I want reasonable knowledge to the people so they can come back and say, this is what it is. This is what we think. I think to ignore the idea that the state can destroy this community by saying, I'm sorry, but you can't grow because you aren't sustainable, to say you can't have your children build a new home because you're not sustainable is not fair. Well, and to ignore that possibility simply because we don't like it.
I think, back off of that for a second, because the whole idea of Sigma and then the follow-up of this 55-gallon thing, it seems to me the state is overreaching. They are overstepping their bounds. They're trying to come in and say what we locally should do. And the idea is that there's levels of government for a reason, and the people closest to the issue are supposed to be regulating it more. And I can't imagine that the state is legitimately going to be able to come in and put a limit on me birthing another child or someone else building a house here. It's just unrealistic and not a fair scare tactic to use anymore. I think at one point there was discussion of going and talking with Governor Brown, with the Admiral, to say this Sigma thing, calling us in critical overdraft, is unreasonable. We are fine with taking conservation measures, but you have gone too far. Taking $3 million out of our area to come up with this plan is, and that's just for the plan. That doesn't include the millions of dollars that it's going to cost us to get the water credits and pump it back in the ground or do this, that, and the other. I would think that we should be able to go to him and explain too, your 55-gallon thing is unrealistic. If a person has a horse and they want to water their horse and live, 55 gallons isn't enough. If we want to use a swamp cooler, 55 gallons isn't enough. That isn't part of the discussion, though. But it is all part of what's wrapped up in these. Peggy, it's what's in these people's minds. When you talk to the people with the well owners, these were their concerns. And they talked about it last night. It's just piling up more and more, saying what we can and can't do with our water. And it's not okay. And instead of just saying, here, let us bend over backwards to make this unreasonable request work for you, I think instead we need to go up and have a legitimate conversation with the governor's office saying, you're going too far for our area.
What the Admiral told us was, get the plan, we'll go with you. We'll go with you. In fact, Admiral Corey had said, if you do it quickly, I'll lead the charge. But he isn't here. We weren't able to do it before he was able to leave. So I don't want to put it on the burden on the Navy. I want for us to all go to the State Department of Water Resources and say, you can't simply say water in, water out without ignoring what's in storage.
But doesn't that make a difference on the plan?
It doesn't, because we have to follow the rules. And I'm not talking about 50 gallons of water a day. It is not part of this. All they want us to do is pardon that pun, but all they want us to do is be sustainable. Sustainability is part of dealing with where we are. That is where we are. We are not sustainable according to those rules of water in, water out. We are using 3 times more water than we are getting in. For us to say to the Department of Water Resources, look at not just water in, water out, look at us with what we have. We have a unique valley that has 2 million acre-feet in storage. We have approximately 175 years of water in this valley. You can't simply say water in, water out. But we must develop a plan.
But that would make a difference on how we develop the plan at the same time.
It doesn't at this time because it isn't part of the issue. They will not allow us to. Ron, I know you're trying to say something.
Yeah,
Please,
we have
ahead.
to develop a plan, and we'll have 20 to 50 years to be able to implement that plan. And my belief is that there will be a political solution eventually down the road. But right now, we have a deadline. We have certain requirements that have to be met. And when you look at the pumping fee, nobody wants the pumping fee. But I also look at it from the city manager's point of view is that the IWVGA is a new government entity. They're like a new city of Ridgecrest, a new water district. They are their own entity. They need to be able to fund themselves. Otherwise, it's going to be on the citizens of Ridgecrest back to continue to support this other government entity, which I don't think is fair. Because right now, if we don't, then all of the people who pay water with the Indian Wells Water District is going to be paying extra to develop this plan. We're also going to be paying extra for attorney fees and everything else that goes along with the development of this thing. So I don't think it's fair. I think having the fees allows that entity to stand on its own and move forward.
But I completely agree with you that I don't think this entity is fair because from what I've seen, it takes way too much of your time. It takes way too much of city's resources.
Well, part of this pumping fee will pay for a new part-time manager for the organization, which will free up my time.
Yeah, it's just gotten out of hand. And I think instead of waiting until the plan is made, we can go have a meeting now and discuss with them, and we can go have one once the plan is made. But we need to see if there's not some way to get them back down to reality, that this Sigma thing is not realistic for our valley. It's overburdening us.
That may happen over time, but we do have a strict timeline. And I don't know about you guys, but there's no way I really want the state to come in and dictate this process to us. While it may be painful in our community, it still is something that I think is better solved by us in the Indian Wells Valley than to have Sacramento come in and dictate what we do. And I don't know if I want to play chicken with Governor Brown or whoever else is going to come in and replace him in November.
As the Department of Water Resources has told us, we will do this by 2020. If we don't do it by 2020, they have also told us we will do it for you. We have a responsibility to make sure the decisions that we must live with remain in our hands. I don't want the state to come in and say, okay, you can't live here, you can't be in business here, you can't do this here, because you have refused to do the job we entrusted you to do. I don't want that. Do you want the state to tell us how we're going to live?
They already are right now.
No, they're not. They've told us. I don't want to talk about the 50 gallons because it has nothing to do with what we're dealing with today. What it does deal with is, are we going to be sustainable? Is it going to be water in and water out only?
Pay. They also just had a ballot measure that you can't capture your own rainwater. I mean, we have some laws that affecting the basic human rights of the citizens of California and the citizens of America. Real basic human rights. When we have a bill put up that we're not allowed to catch our rainwater, which means that if we run out of water, we can't be sustainable, and we have to be 100% dependent on the government. That's what that law means. That's what it means. That's why it was written. That's why it was put in, and it's happening all over the globe. And people need to do a little research and understand what's going on. So the issue of the 55-gallon a day does directly apply to this. It all rolls in to a major umbrella, and that of overreach on the part of the state concerning your individual rights. It all is rolled into the same plan.
Is there any other council comment?
I personally think you need to move forward.
Eddie?
Councilman Mayor, I think that due to what I'm hearing from Mr. Strand and other council, that we are up against somewhat of a deadline in reference to time to get some things going and moving so that we do protect ourselves as reference to a city. And even if Councilwoman Stevenson and Mr. Martin are correct, we still need to protect ourselves. And I know you say go and talk to the governor, but we're still not moving forward in reference to protecting ourselves. You make a valid point, but we still need to move this forward so we can protect ourselves.
But in the end, we're not protecting ourselves. We're just giving in.
But if we don't concede to the deadlines, or we concede to the deadlines, then we've done nothing.
Well, we just dealt with this. If nobody stands up, nothing happens. We just dealt with this with the state challenging the federal government with the sanctuary city, and everyone said, "Oh my gosh, let's not play chicken with Governor Brown." And yet, one city did decide to stand up. One decided to stand up, and the next thing you know, now we have 40. In another month, we'll probably have 60, then 80, and before long, maybe they mostly stand up. But if one doesn't stand up, Ron, we never get the dance started. No one hits the dance floor. So I totally disagree with that concept of playing chicken with the state. If the state exercises and continues to put forth and pass extremist bills, that requires extremist actions on the part of little tiny cities. And when they stand up, the next one stands up, and the next one stands up, and before long, the governor has to listen.
The fact remains that those people can stand up. They can do that. But as we do that, we must follow what the law is now. And you can change it as we go. We can, if indeed other cities, other areas want to stand up to it. But the fact remains we don't have that choice. We do what is required of us, or we ignore it and we say, okay, you do it. You do it for us, because we don't have the guts to stand up and do what we're required to do. Now, last night at the meeting of that Lori Wagner got together, they talked to us. There was a lot of people that no, I shouldn't say that. It wasn't nearly as many as who attended out in Inyukur, and there was probably 25 or 30 people, and they all thought they were going to talk about where we are as far as water, where we are as far as the GSA is, and there wasn't much of that discussion. What there was is, are we going to, we heard how the BLM is tried to do things. We heard about people taking the law into their hands and shootings, but the fact remains, those are wonderful things if you want to deal with the bigger issues. But we have to deal with what we have in our hands. And what we have in our hands is, you will do this or we will do it for you. What is the best way to deal with that is follow the rules while trying to deal with these other issues. But we must understand if we don't do it, the BLM, the Department of Water Resources has said we will do it for you. I don't want anybody who doesn't have to live with the results of the decisions making decisions for us. Stan
Rotora. I believe the Groundwater Authority has had scheduling problems from day one. If it hadn't been for the Navy and Commander Longbottom in particular, we wouldn't have a schedule today, and we wouldn't know how far behind we were. The Groundwater Authority has had a year and a half, maybe 2 years, to figure out who the well owners are. All that data is over in Kern County. You had to have a permit to put the well in. We should know by this time exactly where the wells are, who owns the wells, and how do we get the information to those people. Now, I would agree we have to do something. I don't think we have to do it as a crisis mode. I think spending an extra month or two to figure out who we send notices out to, getting input from those people, knowing what their problems are, is important. Because shoving it down their throats is just going to create animosity, is going to make it harder when we actually have to implement something. So I would like to suggest that, not that we stop with the fee, but we slow down, figure out what we're doing, make sure we have actually talked to everybody, given everybody an opportunity. I know we sent out 400 or something like that notices for this last meeting. There's a gentleman in this room tonight who got 17 of those. I know people who have multiple wells got no notice. So far, this has been just one screw up after another. We need to slow down. We need to do it right. We need to stop creating problems where there aren't problems. The farmers don't use water in the fall or the winter. So hurrying up and get this thing to going isn't going to do any good anyway. The only people that use the water are going to be the small residential well owners and the Indian Wells Valley Water District. Those are the only people that will be paying. Slowing it down, actually figuring out what we're doing, and maybe doing it a month or two later, I think would be a significant benefit. Thank you.
The small individual well owners are not going to pay right now as it is.
No,
that is according to what they're going to bring to us.
People who own their own well on their own parcel and use less than 2 acre feet, yes, they will not. But there's an awful lot of people. There are 2, 4, 8 people on a well. They are going to be using more than 2 acre feet, and they will be involved. That's why it's important for us to know. I mean, I agree with Ron. We need to register the wells. But we got to actually know who they are. And again, forcing this thing isn't going to do us any good. It's just going to create anger, hate, and discontent. And when we really need the cooperation of the people, you'll find that they're going to be so upset all we're doing is creating problems that don't need to exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat?
I think Stan does make a very good point. He's a voice of reason that we need to listen to. And about getting the wells registered, there is so much confusion about that. Number one, people didn't have to get well permits before 1980. So I know that this information is available somewhere, but it can't be done in a few days. And he's right about the people that did not get any information. And I don't know what the problem is, that we can't get a better list and a better outreach program. Part of the problem may be that PAC, that's supposed to be one of their missions, can't do anything until they're given permission by the GA, and it doesn't seem to happen. I think that it is true, and I think we may run into some Sigma qualifications or criteria relative to metering and charging fees. And I wasn't able to locate that information, but I think we need to make sure that we have all the wells registered. That is going to take some time, but until you have all the wells registered, you're not going to know what you have. There's still going to be gaps, data gaps. I do want to bring up one more thing. We talk a lot of deadlines, so we're having to push this thing through because of deadlines. And I hesitate to bring this up, but I'm going to, because we would have 2 more years to have our plan in had we not been pushed by political intervention to have this basin reclassified as critically overdrafted. We were only overdrafted, classified by the state as overdraft, not critically overdrafted. When the reclassification came out, we pushed to get the information as to why we were reclassified. It was difficult to get the information, but on pressing we did. So it turns out that we were reclassified based on the Todd report. Based on the Todd report. I think that if we want to slow things down and have an extension of time, we need to go back and have that revisited and see if we can have better information on the criteria that determines our classification. And Ron, I've heard you say several times that you believe there will be a political solution. I have a problem with political solutions. Maybe you can explain that.
That goes back to the core of what Mr. Martin and Ms. Stevens are talking about, is the change in the law and how it's done, whether or not we can get our senator, our assembly person to help us with the solution once the plan's in place and how we implement it. As was stated before, we have a lot of water underneath our feet. And what is determined to be a harm to that water table over time has not fully been determined yet. Is it, if we got 1,000 feet, is it 50 feet, is it 100 feet, how much time do we have? And so I think a lot of that's going to be a political solution. Will the Navy come in and play a part in addressing, let's say, ag? I don't know. So when I talk about a political solution, a lot of that has to do with our congressmen, a lot of it has to do with our state folks, yes.
Thank you. And it's not only how much water we have in storage, we really don't know what our recharge is. That needs to be determined. And if we want to talk about solutions, it's not going to be importing water because nobody will be able to afford to live here if we think that's a solution. What we need to do is have a serious study. Even Dr. Priesthoff, who's the president of the Todd Engineers, said she was surprised at the weight that was put on their study. She says it's just reports, it's not a study. She said more studies need to be done. Now she's saying that. I would think we ought to wake up. I think we need to find out a lot more about what we really have here. We might be trying to solve a problem we don't even have.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Elaine Mead. I think one of the most important things that the GA is doing, I don't want to be critical, but we the public has asked that every citizen in this valley, every property owner, be notified of what is going on. We've asked that since the GSA was first set up. And the only way to do that is through a mass mailing like the county did when they rezoned the area. It may be expensive, but if you add up the cost of the meeting last Thursday, along with the other mistakes that have been made on getting notice out to the public, I don't think it's going to be that expensive. It has to be done that way. You can't wait for people to register their wells because a lot of people don't know they need to register. And unless they get something in the mail that says that, and they have the opportunity then to ask questions, they don't know. And you can't hold them responsible for not knowing. So the only way to do it is through the APM numbers. Send everybody a notice. And without doing that, you're butting your head against the wall. Because there's no way to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine.
I have a question. I have know many people who have a well. Some people have a well and it's combined with their house, but some people have it separate. But to the best of my knowledge, and someone correct me, but I think that most people have a separate meter of which their electric bill is clear as a bell. It's the house and the pump. I mean, I think I've seen many people's bills. Why have you contacted the SCE to find out why can't the SCE as a public service provide a list of addresses and all of the well owners in town?
Because I believe people have a right to privacy for that information.
That's a real simple, quick answer. That's one of the only ways that we can get data. I cannot believe that under the circumstances, when we're trying to do a thing to satisfy the governor's urgent unfunded mandate plan, that we couldn't get an exclusion to ask the SCE for a quick address list for the purpose of definitive single purpose of sending out 1 or 2 letters to do this, Ron. I don't believe that.
In my previous career, I had to write a search warrant for that information.
Well, you know what I'm saying here is the public meeting that I request that you look into that tomorrow and you do everything in your power to try to get that and find a procedure legally, Lloyd. I'm asking you as well, please, to find out if we need to send a letter to the governor to say, will you please help us so that we can get SCE to release a 10-cent list that they'll put out in 1 hour, requires no money. Hello, they got the bill sending thing down pat, trust me. So they can pull out that little list, that little quicken list or whatever it is, and send it to the city, and I ask that be done.
I don't know if SCE keeps track of a meter that's specifically for a well or not.
Oh, I know that, Ron, but I imagine they do. Don't you think they're a $1 trillion company? They probably do that. They probably can query that system 7 ways from Sunday. I'm asking, can I ask that? I'm asking the staff and legal counsel to find out so we can get a list from SCE in 10 minutes so we know where the well owners are so we can send them. That way, a full APN list is not necessary. Probably be nice anyway. Probably be nice and good anyway. But, so let's find out. Maybe we save a whole lot of money if we can narrow that list. Okay?
I have a separate question. At this point in time, why would anyone want to register their well? I mean, I would just, in all honesty, if it's like, hey, I'm going to fill out this form to register my well so that then you can start charging me and then eventually put a meter on it, that would kind of demotivate me to put my name on your list. Just saying. I don't understand how you're going to convince people to put their name on your list right now because there's so much confusion and all they hear is they're going to get charged. So why would they want to be on your list?
Thank you. Sir.
Good evening. My name is Norman Alexander. Wasn't planning to talk this evening. President-elect of the Association of Realtors here in Ridgecrest. We just had our meeting yesterday. We have a realtor that goes to these meetings, Carol Wilson. We have drafted a letter. We're still in draft form, but I thought it would be appropriate just to highlight a couple things. And it goes, in response to Supervisor Mick Gleason's request for alternative suggestions from the Board of Realtors for pumping fees implementation, the Board proposes the following. To follow the suggestion, in Stan Ratora's presentation, and they've got a copy of this presentation, and it follows suggestions of Donna Thomas' presentation, and that's going to be attached. These combined suggestions represent there's over hundreds of millions of dollars of funds for GSA development through various grants available through 7 different agencies. In addition, we understand that DWR is willing to front money through reimbursement to set up GSAs. So we as a board right now are looking at suggesting that we're opposed to the fees on the property owners merely to compensate the GSA, especially when there are other options out there. So the discussion, I understand the deadlines, and that has to be done, and we don't, I agree, we don't want to miss the deadlines and other things fall in place, but do we really need to rush? I mean, just quick, and I'm surprised Stan didn't talk about it. That's why I sat down and talked to him. But there's money, there's other ways of getting funds. And like I say, only two people that we've gone off and talked to have found other options that are out there. So again, to muddy the water a little bit more, that's another option for you guys to consider. One of the things that concerned me was we thought we had a little bit of time before we could present this letter. When they started talking about, hey, they were already going to do a reading and possibly a vote, because we thought we had at least a few more weeks for the next meeting next month. So just wanted to put that out there to give you a heads up.
We have received grants from the state.
Okay.
And we do have, our consultant is researching and seeking out additional grants as they become available.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we have an option tomorrow to vote on the first reading. Again, it is a first reading. We're not committed to anything other than the first reading of the option of lowering the rates to $25 an acre foot from $35 to $25, and that we have, where was I going with this? Ron, where was I going with this? $25 an acre foot, because that's what we're going to vote on tomorrow.
Yes, that's one of the options.
Pardon me?
That's one of the options, yes, is the $25 an acre foot fee.
What's the other option?
Well, the other option is 35, but that shortens the time frame of the payback.
But the staff is recommending 25.
Staff site is going to recommend the 25.
Yeah. Because right now what it is at 35. And staff is making the recommendation that we go to 25.
Correct. With the water district deferring their $500,000 loan till after the plan is implemented, that allows us to reduce the fee to $25 an acre foot.
Well, my vote is to not go through with the first reading, because you're just going to make the public more irate because their public meeting got canceled, and it seems that you're just going to do the fee without their opinion first, and that's not going to go over well. But that's just my opinion.
That's my opinion as well.
So you want to keep it at 35 then? That
no, I don't want you to do a reading at all yet, and I don't want you to have the first reading and vote on it until you have a good public meeting.
How do we bring that discussion to the public without having something to bring to them?
You have ideas, right? What were you didn't have the first reading before the public meeting last week.
We did have the $35.
The idea of it that you were supposed to be discussing with them, right? Mm-hmm. Not forcing upon them. It was
nobody is forcing anything on anybody.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what a first reading is. Simply the idea that this is what staff wants to bring to you accept it as the first reading. I make a motion if this gives us the opportunity to. Did you want to say something, Eddie?
I wanted to. I'm just trying to understand Councilwoman Stevens' position for not wanting to read it, have a first reading. Is it because you feel that the public is not being properly informed of what's going on or what could potentially happen?
That meeting last week basically didn't.
Hold on 1 second. And then I'm trying to understand in reference to us doing the reading, would it bring information? Is it more of a reading to bring information, or is it a meeting to assess or tax the people further down the road? So I'm trying to figure it out so I can vote.
Okay. Let me see. There is no tax. The people, let me make the people, the de minimis users, anybody using less than 2 acre feet will pay nothing. So those people who use more than 2 acre feet, including the water district, will pay $25 an acre foot. And and right now there's about 71 users involved in that. And it is the first reading, so then we can bring something to the public to say when we determine at Thursday's meeting how we do bring this to the public. We want to bring something to them, and the only way we can is have this first reading so we can bring to the public. What do y'all think?
All right, well, first off, to be able to determine whether or not you're 25 how much you're using, you have to register your well, and you have to have a meter on your well to find out how much you're using, right?
No.
Oh, you're saying you're getting this from the electric bill, or what?
No, because one of the, Ron, if I'm wrong, share this with me, but one of the options was everybody who uses less than 2 acre feet, that's virtually every well owner in the Indian Wells Valley, except those 71 who we know, based on their horsepower and potential, is property involved, is not a de minimis user. One of the questions was asked, what is a de minimis user? A de minimis user is, to be defined more fully, was those who are cooperative or mutuals that are less than 4 people that use less than 2 acre feet for domestic use are de minimis users. Am I wrong, Ron? Is that what staff said?
You're correct. I mean, if it turns out you have a person that has 1 well, but they have an oasis on their property and a pond and a lake, they're probably going to pay. But the average person or individuals that have a well that have 4 properties or less are de minimis users and will not have to pay a pumping fee.
Okay, so I just want to share with you what I heard from people that I talked to last night and other nights. They have concerns over the de minimis language, and they wanted to be able to talk about that at the last public meeting. They didn't get to do that. They also have concerns that everything has already been decided and that they're just being informed of the way it is. And if you continue with the reading and the first reading, the perception is that you're moving along whether or not you have had your meeting. So you have your first reading, the next month you're going to have your second reading and vote on it, and it's passed. And so I'm just telling you that the public perception from what I got last night and speaking with people other times is that it seems like you guys are charging ahead, you already have your minds made up, and that's the perception, and there's concerns, and these people haven't even gotten their opportunity to share that with you. And you say, well, 10 o'clock, we've been meeting for a year on 10 o'clock on Thursdays. Most of the people can't make that meeting. And most of them didn't even know until, and it was pretty inconvenient how it happened to work out, and you guys didn't know that Governor Brown was going to pass this 55-gallon thing right before you held your public meeting. So that made it more of an uproar at the same time. And so I'm just saying, if you would just delay it one more month, have your public meeting, and I think that would help smooth the waters some. But
unless we bring information, unless we have, wait, let me finish. Unless we have the opportunity to bring to the people, bring to the GSA the $25 an acre foot for those who are greater than a de minimis users, we have nothing to bring to them.
you have that, you just said it out loud right now. Why do you have to have a first reading through the GSA to be able to say that exact language? I mean, all of them can be.
Otherwise, it's just talk.
There is
That's all they want is to be able to talk. They want to talk first before you make a decision.
We want to give them the opportunity to have that meeting.
Yeah, the reality is we should have had these fees in place a year ago. The longer we wait, the more we delay this, the more we find reasons to delay it, the higher the cost is going to be. So yes, there is a sense of urgency. One, to find the funding to pay for the plan, and two, to implement, to develop the plan. So yes, there is a sense of urgency. We all should have that. Because if we wait 3 or 4 more months, well, guess what? That's 3 or 4 less months that's part of the factor, and that fee goes up. Otherwise, the city of Ridgecrest, I mean, I guess the entities, Ridgecrest and Kern County, we can all take money out of our general fund and apply towards this plan.
Well, if I were on the committee and it's like, yeah, well, you didn't jump in and earlier, and I get it all, but to me, the concept of getting a list of all the people who have a well and a pump should have been priority, absolutely was, immediately, an urgent thing to SCE, an urgent request to the Board of Realtors, because the Realtors know who has pumps and done in the past 5 years or 10, at least might be a start. Most offices keep their stuff, I think, for 20 years. So the Realtors, you could have reached out to the Realtors to see if they could help to find that data out, and reached out to the electric company to find out. And what you're telling me is you didn't reach out to anybody.
That's not.
Well, wait, excuse me, Madam Mayor. He just said that they did not reach out to the electric company. If you're going to try to get a message out to the people, we have a TV station here. Why didn't you do a Facebook blast? Everybody else does Facebook. Did y'all do that? Did you do that? Have you done a Facebook blast that cost almost nothing for everybody in this town to tell them about that meeting? Did we do that?
Yes, the last meeting was on Facebook, yes.
And that's different.
We went to the Kern County Planning Department.
He means a Facebook. No, he means a Facebook advertisement, not just a Facebook post. There is a difference. A Facebook advertisement pops up in everyone's feed versus a Facebook post. It's only on the page for the people who subscribe to those pages. So
we went to the health department and said, how many well owners in the Indian Wells Valley? And we asked, and we sent that information to PACRAP and said, please send those notifications to the well owners in the Indian Wells Valley from the Department of Health Department registered well owners. Isn't that the best source?
I don't know that. I wouldn't have even thought of that. That might be one source.
But that is the source, because everybody who has a well must register with the Department of Health Services to get that well.
I don't think so.
I'm sorry you don't think so.
But is that just, Ms. Ferris said, is that just since 1980? That's
No, she said they didn't have to get permits for a well before 1980.
So who do they pull the permits from, though?
County.
So that would be
Department of
separate.
Health Services, the county.
But isn't that, you don't pull your permit from the Department of Health? So
No,
maybe
you
their
pull your
list.
permit from the building department.
Yeah.
Right there.
But you may build your building permit, but in order to have a well, you go to the Department of Health Services with Kern County.
So is that not true, Mr. Culp? Do they have to come and pull it through you?
It's not through him. The city doesn't have any wells.
He's city.
Isn't there a way that to satisfy what Mr. Martin is talking about? That we have some
I don't think going to
form
Edison Company is going to solve the problem.
of notifying or doing our best at notifying?
Well drilling is one of the occupations or one of the professions that does require a certification, as well as documenting any work that they do, and generally the state requires that well driller to report what he's done on any property or any well he's drilled. The state would have some database on what wells have been drilled within the area. There's I believe a specific database just on well drillers and their well drillers log that's required to be filed with the state.
So, in reference to that, Mr. Strand, did we tap into that resource? And
The resource we tapped into was the current counties where they're supposed to be registered. That's who they go through.
They have to go through the health department.
Correct. According to county legal, yes. I mean, that's one of the justifications for wanting people to register, so at least we have that information, so when they need to be notified, we have the current information. Because it's obvious that we don't.
okay. So, Mr. Martin, is that source not, you don't feel that it's reliable that they reached out to, or you're looking for more? I'm not understanding what
It
more you're
doesn't
looking
seem
for.
like it was reliable because there was a lot of people who have wells that didn't receive notices, or one person received 17.
I can make a comment that might clarify that. I was the one that sent the list to PACRAP. They said that when they submitted the list to the United States Post Office, a lot of the addresses came back as undeliverable because they were service address, not mailing addresses. So that was why some well owners didn't get notified. And that's an issue that we're addressing right now. But that right there was one of the issues.
I guarantee you SCE's got a way to get right to your house because they're going to get the money. So SCE's going to have a list that's 100% correct, Mr. Strange. 100% correct. You want to bet? 100% correct. So ask the governor's office to give us permission to get a list so we can do this vital thing to answer his unfunded mandate request. Sorry, Ron.
Okay, so the direction to your representative is to approve this item. I'm going to make the motion. Approve the first reading at $25, and then when we have the first reading, then we can establish a meeting time between then and next month and send out notices to the people that to attend this meeting so we can have discussion with them, both back and forth. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
It's going to have, please vote.
Here we go again.
Two ayes, 3 noes. The noes are Mr. Martin, Ms. Stevens, and Mr. Thomas. The motion does not carry.
Okay. Next item. Where are we? Discussion and proposed action to approve a resolution designating a voting member and alternate to attend the League of California Cities annual conference and represent the city of Ridgecrest. Rika? It says you're
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I was typing the last incident that just happened. So the League holds this annual meeting. This year it is in Long Beach. And generally, you send your representative that's been supporting the League all year long, which would be Mr. Martin, but you can nominate whoever you'd like. His alternate is Ms. Stevens. So you just need to decide who you'd like to send to represent you, and that person has to understand they're going to be going to that meeting. So just discuss it among yourselves, or does somebody want to step up and say they'd like to be the person?
I'm fine with going again as the alternate. Are you good with?
And I respectfully request to go as the main voting member.
We can make a motion to accept those.
So move.
Second.
Please vote. 5 ayes, motion carries.
This has been pulled. I was a little late, so I didn't get to remind that needed to be pulled. They requested to have it delayed because their chief officer was not able to come to the presentation this evening.
Okay, the next item, a public hearing. A public hearing regarding the annual assessment for the consolidated landscaping and lighting district number 2012-1, the district, and adoption of the resolution 1 approving the annual engineer's report and ordering the levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 2018-19. I'm going to open the public hearing, and Mr. Culp.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, City Council, this is the final step in perpetuating your funding mechanisms for your consolidated lighting landscape maintenance district 2012-1. If you recall, back in our last council meeting in June, you passed 3 resolutions. One was the intent, the required process of an intent resolution that we intend to start the required annual process. The second resolution was to accept the engineer's report. The third resolution was to the intent to levy taxes or levy the assessments, and to also announce the date of the public hearing. The date was established for this date, and now is the time for our public hearing. Tonight we're going to ask you, Mayor, to open up the public hearing to hear public testimony. We'll also ask you if there's been any written protest to the assessments. We do have, after the public hearing, we will be asking you to pass 2 resolutions. The first resolution is to accept the engineer's report, and the second resolution is to order the levy of those assessments. With that, Honorable Mayor, I would ask you to now open the public hearing.
Okay, I'm opening the public hearing, and I'm going to receive comments. Please.
She's speaking for me? Oh, okay. Well, my name is Kathy Brown, and I live in Inyokern, and I'm a well owner. Can I comment on this previous well stuff that you just talked about? Is that appropriate?
We've already voted on that.
Well, I was watching the city council meeting at home out in Inyokern, and I said, I got to get in my car and drive in because I have some things to let the public know about, and you guys too.
If you'd like to give us copies of that, we've already...
No, it's not really a copy.
Okay. We've already voted no on that item.
Oh, so the item you voted no on is, we're going to have a hearing then for the public? Is that it? Thank you, Wallace. I've talked to you before.
No, we're not going to have a hearing right now.
Oh, no, not tonight, but you do have one that you promised?
What we said, we would have a meeting tomorrow. We have a GSA meeting tomorrow, the 21st, at 10 o'clock, and we are going to give them a no vote on that item, and that we will establish a time for everyone to come and meet.
Would there be a public meeting, though?
After that meeting,
okay.
When all the public would be there.
Because honestly, I went to the one in Inyokern, and it was a fiasco, as we all know. And we want to participate, but we can only participate if we're informed properly.
Okay.
And the other thing is we were promised a public meeting, so I
And
just
you
want to
will
make
have
we
that.
will have one, and
You will
we want
have
it
that.
at night too if we could have it.
We set it 7 at night
Okay.
and here in town
Okay.
with a room big enough and meet all the facilities of all the people.
That sounds very good because the current groundwater extraction package that you have right now is invalid. They're going to be printing a new one after the meeting tomorrow, and that'll be available to the public Monday. So that's why I drove in here. I was so concerned about how can I have a document that's expired right now, really.
I
And
gotcha.
when we want to get all the details in that as we move forward, we know
We
we
will.
have to participate, and
We
we know
will.
the fees are legal because I checked with the California State Department, the Water Board. Mr. Ross, I think, is kind of handling our area. So, like I said, somebody made a comment tonight that the environmental impact, they did a great job on that informing because I was involved in that as well. But it's been
Okay.
a nightmare.
Thank
It's been
you.
a nightmare.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this is a public hearing on the annual assessment for Consolidated Landscaping and Lighting District Number 2012-1. So do we have any public comment? Okay. Do we have any council comment?
Are we resolving the issues of having the landscaping be unkept?
Yes, we are currently having our city street crews in this interim to maintain those areas. Les Wood has been taking that on himself.
Okay.
And so, yes, we are in the interim until we can employ a landscaper to take over that operation.
Okay, because I had been informed that some people were going and taking pictures of all the dead plants and weeds that were growing in trash that was collecting. And so it didn't look good that we were trying to form more districts, but not keeping good care of the ones that are already formed.
Yes, we did solicit proposals, and we only received one proposal for those services, in which we had to reject that proposal.
Was that proposal from a local company or an out of town?
It was a local company.
And so did we make sure we sent it to all the local? Because there's quite a few landscapers in town.
Yes, it's my understanding that we did, and we did have a relatively short response period because we knew we had to get a landscaper on board. So realizing that, Les has picked up that burden, and we will be trying to resolicit proposals and ensure that we get that out to as many of the landscapers as we can, and get that underway.
Sorry, is it too much work for us just to continue to do the work ourselves? Is that
There has been some discussion of that. I believe administrative staff, Public Works Director, I believe, has had discussions with other administrative staff regarding that. At my level, I just know that Les has been taking care of it at present.
Thank you.
In order to bid on that, I assume they have to be licensed and bonded. Is that correct?
Licensing, yes. It is required for state prevailing wage. We are not requiring a bond.
Could you explain to me that the idea, that direction from council a couple of meetings ago was to begin work on implementing this as a large district all over the area, and that allow those people who were affected by this to continue to follow through with their process? This is different from that.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, it is. This is just the existing 2012-1 landscaping maintenance district. This does not include those tracts that you took action upon to allow them to proceed in the recordation process.
Thank you.
Without having the...
That was my concern. I wanted to, because I've gotten some phone calls and discussion from people wanting to make sure that this didn't impact that.
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay.
This action does not affect
Okay.
them in any such manner.
Okay.
Doesn't this impact basically the Horton track and the Walmart area?
Yes, this does. This is for the existing landscape maintenance zones that are currently consolidated in this 2012-1. This is the Horton track, the Stephen Hare tracks up on College Heights, as well as Walmart and the surrounding zones.
Okay, is there any other council comment? Okay, then.
Two resolutions.
There's actually three. Is there two with this one and three with the other one?
There are two resolutions here. In the staff report, it really should read on the second item, adopt the resolutions. That should be plural. There's two resolutions tonight for you. The first one is for accepting the engineer's report, the annual engineer's report, and the second one is to order the levy. We do have a timeline on this. We have to have this into the assessor's office before June,
this week.
June, the 22nd, yes.
I move approval of both the resolutions.
Let me close the public hearing.
I would ask the mayor to see if there's been any written protest.
Are there any?
I have received none.
Okay, thank you.
We do need to do two separate motions,
You gotta do
so
second.
please.
Okay. I make a motion to approve resolution of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest confirming the annual engineer's report for fiscal year 2018-19 and the assessment diagram connected therewith.
I'll second.
Please vote. 5 ayes, motion carries.
I make a motion to approve resolution of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest, California, ordering the levy and collection of assessments within the Consolidated Landscaping and Lighting District number 2012-1 for fiscal year 2018-19.
I'll second.
He's getting there. He's a little slow. Please vote.
This is item. That was for item 12.
There's two resolutions for item.
Yeah, but we were on item 11.
Right.
You know, that was probably my error. I think I might have only made him one slide for that one. So for the second slide, for the second resolution, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Maurer? This
Aye.
is okay, thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Okay, so we are not having item, no, that included number 12. Now we're doing number 12.
Yes. Now we're doing number 12.
Okay.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, this is almost identical to the last action you took. This is also the very final step in perpetuating your funding for your annual assessment for your Special Assessment Benefit District 2016-1. This Special Assessment District is for the drainage system and facilities associated with the Horton Tract and Stephen Hare tracts up on along College Heights. Again, on June 6th, we followed the same required process where you had approved 3 resolutions. The first resolution was initiating the annual required proceedings. The second resolution was to approve the preliminary annual engineer's report. And the third resolution was declaring the intent to levy the annual assessment and also order or establish the public hearing. The public hearing is tonight, and what we're asking you again is to open up the public hearing to hear public testimony and to see if there's been any written protest regarding the yearly assessment. Upon the conclusion of the public hearing, we would ask the mayor to then entertain 2 resolutions tonight. The first of which is to approve the engineer's report, and the second of which is to order the levy.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing and we'll receive comments. Are there any comments?
There's only one resolution.
Were there any?
On this one, Lauren, I'm sorry, they only sent one resolution. They combined it all into one resolution on this one. That's what Wildan sent us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it approves the annual engineer's report and orders the levy.
Okay, so it doesn't go together.
So it's all
I'm
in
sorry,
one resolution.
I misspoke. Yes, single resolution.
Okay, so what are you asking us to do? Are we going to follow the same procedure?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Your Honor. We're asking you to conduct a public hearing to also see if there's been any written protest.
Written comments
and then
also.
to close the public hearing, and then to
Approve the
ask
resolution.
a single resolution
Right,
for both
one.
approving the engineer's report as well as ordering the levy.
Okay, so I'm opening the public hearing. I'm receiving comments. Are there any comments? Were there any written comments?
None received.
Okay, I'm closing the public hearing and the resolution.
I make a motion to approve resolution of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest approving the annual engineering report and ordering the levy and collection of assessments within the City of Ridgecrest Drainage Benefit Assessment District 2016-1 for fiscal year 2018-19 pursuant to the provisions of the Benefit Assessment Act of 1982.
I'll second.
Please vote. Five ayes, motion carries.
Okay. Now committee reports. City org.
We didn't meet, did we?
Yeah, we haven't met for this one yet.
Okay.
Okay, finance,
Didn't meet.
infrastructure,
Didn't meet, and it's canceled for this. It was actually scheduled for tomorrow because we moved it up a week, but then Barb's gone, so there were only 2 items that Barb had to present, so we postponed it.
okay. Parks and Rec, youth advisory, next item action. That's September and March.
Yes.
So, okay. RACVB,
Quick report. Doug had updated the directors that taking a bid from Star Electric in Bakersfield for lights to be repaired and turned on at the Ridgecrest Chamber billboard on Highway 395 facing south. RACVB will have 4 new billboards, a new billboard in Mojave on Highway 14, 2 on Highway 395, that'll receive new skins and new graphics, and a billboard in Johannesburg, which is at no cost for 3 months with a new contract that begins on July 1st, 2018, with new skin and graphics. Doug advised the directors that the July 2018 meeting will be the annual membership meeting, and Doug has been working with Cheryl McDonald on an Indian Wells Valley self-guided tour map depicting petroglyph culture and art. And the RACVB now has a hiker's box, and Doug informed directors that we had a hiker on the Pacific Coast Trail who came into our office and gave this recommendation, as well as inform us of a hiker's app that we will research for more information. And that's interesting. So the people were putting a lot of things in those boxes that hikers needed. They suggested people didn't put food in because people were putting some food in, and the roachers were kind of helping themselves to the box, and so they've asked them not to put perishables, but it's a good idea. So and the app is to help hikers on the trail, so that's neat. Ridgecrest Film Commission, there weren't any productions. In Yukon Airport, there was 1, and the total community spend for May was $10,000. So that's that report.
okay. Economic development.
Yes, we met. We talked about ICSC and what follow-up was going to be occurring after that. And we also had Race Communications come and give a presentation on broadband, which was a very informative thing. and we're going to be looking at sending out a survey on broadband to the community. So,
Okay, other committees, boards, and commissions? Mike?
I've got Kern Cog tomorrow night.
Okay, Eddie?
See, I don't. If I'm not mistaken, we don't meet until.
July 18th, the July 4th meeting is canceled.
Okay, so we have the East Kern air pollution for on the 12th of July at 2:00 here, and that's what you got these little brochures. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting, and they put this in my mailbox, so I gave it to all of council to bring them up to speed of some of the things that they were, I'm assuming they were talking about.
Mike and I attended it wasn't exactly a meeting. It was a group of the Kern. Am I on?
Yeah, you're on. Kern Economic Development.
Kern Economic Development Corporation meeting, a celebration of their meeting and turnover to a new president. And they announced that they would be having their Kern Economic Development Corporation meeting probably in January here. They are going to confirm a date and make sure that we are able to handle that for them. Richard Chapman reported on numerous items that are taking place in Kern County, and most of them on the other side of the basin and virtually none of them here. I did get to meet Jim Baldwin, who is the Kern Board of Trade president this year, and they are going to come over and set up a time when they can come visit this area and see what we're doing. We had a lot of great information that was exchanged, and he is going to come and view this area, and so that item is on our agenda next time. That was all the meetings. I sent you a report from that you all got, and the Board of Trade, RACVB got about tourism in this area. And Wallace, could you ask, there was significant items that were super great, but there was some items that explained that we aren't doing as well as Mono County and Inyo County. Could you ask the RACVB and see if you can report back to the next item? Because it appears that even though there's been great growth on tourism in this area, somehow my concern was that we are not doing as well as Inyo and Mono County. And I'd like to see if they have any ideas on what we should do or could do.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, that's all I have. Mayor and council comments. I'm sorry, future agenda items. Wrong, city manager.
I think you missed city manager
report.
Yeah. I have the pleasure to introduce to you our new finance director, Cherie Fries. Seated across the room, waving at you. Cherie worked for us from 2014 to 2017 when she left to go work for private industry. When she left, she was our interim assistant finance director. When the position came open, she applied, and she is very well qualified for this job. She's well liked by the staff. She knows the city. So I'd like to welcome her aboard the team.
Welcome back. Yay.
Thank you. Good. Okay, sir. That's the end? Okay. Future agenda items? I would like to ask Jed, there is cameras all over that are manned by people of their own at their own homes. And I'm wondering if we can begin a process of when a major theft or a major event or even a minor event happens in the valley, can we ask for public help on that? And I'm wondering if you and the captain would like to comment how we can use that more fully.
Sure. We actually have 2 meetings set up on the 14th and the 24th, Brian? 21st. Inviting all business owners to one of those to talk about how to make their buildings more secure and how to protect themselves, how to place cameras in their businesses and stuff like that. And then the second would be for any other citizen, residential, or whatever they own in town. One, requesting that if they have the ability to install cameras, to do so. And then in that meeting also discuss maybe some sort of registration, free, if possible, to let us know where they are, so when we do get a crime spree or a crime in a certain area, we know who we can contact to get that video. So we're already in the works on that, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Could you give me those dates again? Because I'm sure our church would like to participate.
Yes, the 14th of July and the 21st of July.
And the 21st is a public one?
Yes.
That's a public.
Correct, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And that's going to be here, sir?
Yes, it'll be here in the chambers.
Okay. At 2:00.
And we just met with the some contractors, real estate agents, and concerned citizens earlier this week about the abandoned property issue that I'll be reporting at City Org next meeting. Is that it?
Thank you. Although none of us from the City Org Committee were able to attend, it was terrible. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm also wondering if we can have, where are we with the splash pad, the splash park? I'd like to get a report where we are with that.
There were some issues with the plans and the inspectors. I've been told we're back on track again, and they should be starting work again tomorrow.
Okay. Perfect.
Hopefully by middle of July.
Yeah. Thank you. We have a graduate on our own staff, and if I can, on our staff first, I'd like to have our graduate respond and please tell us about Leadership Ridgecrest, and then I'd like to offer congratulations to Jessica also, who is a graduate. But go ahead, please. Wherever you want, sir.
So thank you for asking me to come up. I'm fortunate enough to be sponsored by the City of Ridgecrest for a program called Leadership Ridgecrest. We just graduated last Friday night. It was a beautiful gala, a wonderful turnout. But Leadership Ridgecrest was modeled after Leadership Bakersfield, which has been going on for 3 decades. And just a brief description of what Leadership Ridgecrest is, I pulled it up off their website. It's a program developed for leaders in East Kern County with the skills, motivation, and background to take our community into the future. The students participate in a 9-month program, approximately 1 day per month, involving classroom sessions and field trips to many of the vital agencies and companies in our community. Emphasis will be placed on developing contacts and developing personal, professional relationships with mentors and other members of the group. And I got to tell you, when I was initially sponsored back this time last year, I was like, I don't know what, I knew it would be good, but I didn't know what I'd really take from it. And I'm being honest, because I've been here for 18 years working in the community, and I kind of thought I knew a lot. But taking the program, it brought me behind the scenes, and Jessica, who was part of my team, and took us to the museum. police department tour, a government day, education day that involved the Sierra Sands School District and Saracoso College, RH Health Day, a media relations day at a News Review and Daily Independent, and a Natural Resources Day that took place on the base where we learned about their solar system, went out to Coso Geothermal, and it truly was an amazing program where we met great people. But one of my favorite parts of it was meeting some of the other people in the class, because we've developed a bond and a friendship, and we all live in this community. But part of that program was doing a group project that would help our community, and in hopes it would be a sustainable project. And 2 groups were created out of the class. One of the groups created what was called the Work Ready program to teach young upcoming adults into this world the soft skills to get into the workforce and be successful. And the other group did the Stigma-Free IWV, which was a mental illness-based type of training class to take that stigma away from mental illness and give them resources and a better outlook on future stuff. So I believe it was a very successful first year. I think this is something that's going to continue for the years, and it was great for the community. And I don't know if Jessica wants to add anything, but
okay. She takes her notes.
And Jessica took notes.
Yeah. Well, just briefly.
I just got back from a meeting at the chamber, and they are collecting applications for the upcoming year. They're due July 13th, and they're going to be interviewing between July 30th and August 15th. The first day of class will be September the 21st. So if anybody's interested, get in contact with the chamber, get an application, because it's rolling again. So, and it was a great experience, and Ryan is wonderful, and he did a lot of work on our team, and it was really good. Thanks.
Well,
thank you both.
Thank you. Since Jessica said that, she actually did most of the work, so I have to give her the props. So,
okay.
Thank you for letting me speak about that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments from council?
I'm sorry. Yes, I got a message that, and I don't know who's going to do it, but item number 7, we were asking for somebody for a quad stay, and someone texted me saying that they would like to volunteer for that. I guess it's either you two or whoever is going to.
If you just have them contact me, I'll get them a citizen service application, and then we'll bring that back to the July 18th meeting as well with the Measure V.
You probably already have them on file.
Would they have to submit a new one each year? So depending on how long ago they
used to serve on it, they told me. So I'll do that. Thank you. And then the other thing I wanted to ask, on the newspaper, I don't get the paper, but someone sent me a picture on the newspaper. We had terminated someone, and we weren't aware of it. We found out through the paper.
Yes, we have lost a couple of employees. It is a personnel issue.
You couldn't just send us a text and say, as a council?
That is correct.
Okay. Any other council reports or comments?
No, other than that, I'm not fussing at you, Ron, to make a deal. I found it a little abrupt, too. It was like, whoa, just in the future, unless there's some reason, I imagine, though, you're incredibly busy. You've got multitasking right now in 100 ways. But on some of those things, I kind of was taken back a little bit, too. If you could let us just shoot us a thing, that it's probably just an oversight, But I kind of agree with Eddie. I was kind of like, whoa.
Okay, seeing none, we are going back into closed session to finish the last item, and so we will adjourn and come back out after closed session.
And we don't have our 4th of July meeting, so enjoy celebrating America.
Right. I'll be out of town.
Thank you.
Surprisingly. No. Hurry.
Careful.